you need at least an intensive training. So kindly prepare for that, or you can share with someone who wants to have that qualification. So feel most welcome for today's session. So who can remember what we did yesterday? Can we be able to have a brief recap of yesterday's presentation? Yes. Can you remember what we did yesterday? Let's just have a recap. Kidogo tu. Yes.
We discussed about counseling skills and how we can use them to do counseling. And we also discussed about why listening skills, engaging skills, and all those skills are important. Confidentiality is important when we are doing the counseling, and how we can develop those skills.
Thank you. Thank you. Another? What we can be able to remember we did yesterday? It was for more than 3 hours, eh? Yes. Hello. Yes. We only did what Salima has said.
Morning.
Morning.
We looked at also what is counseling and the core conditions for counseling to take place effectively. And we looked at some issues that are usually addressed during counseling.
Okay, thank you so much, Evelyn. Yes. Anything else?
We also discussed on the characteristics of a counselor.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Yes. Okay. Thank you so much. So as we looked at that, we looked at the counseling skills, we looked at the core conditions which help us to create that working relationship with our clients. We also looked at how we are supposed to be handling our clients so that we know whether we have created a safe environment for the client. So as we looked at that, and even some of the questions we are supposed to ask our clients, even as we want to take our client through the counseling process, there are some questions we need to be asking our clients. So where are we getting these questions from? Which questions do you know that you're supposed to be asking? And why you are asking those questions, you have at least to have a reason why you're asking a particular question to your client or to that employee who has come to you. So what we're going to do today, we are going to look into the counseling theories. And we say that these counseling theories are supposed to help us. So I hope all of you are seeing there. Please be ready for 2022, or that is 22nd, sorry, May, for that training, so that we can be better than what we are. So we say we're going to look at the counseling philosophies, and we are going to look at theories. So what is a theory? Let me just get from you, what's a theory? What's a theory? And I know in most of the courses you have done some theories. So what is a theory? What's a theory? Hello, what's a theory? And as I told you, there's no right or wrong answer here. So what's a theory?
Can I say it is an idea that is intended to explain something?
Yes, an idea which is intended to explain something. Yes, thank you. A theory? Let's have one more. A theory? I know these ones we know. Please don't doubt yourselves. And I know this is what affects us as counselors. When clients, when we come, we are not very sure. whether what we want to do is right. Just say what you are telling yourself. A theory? Yes, Rose. Is it Rose or Lona?
Rose, good morning.
Morning.
I just want to try. I just really don't know, but I want to say a theory is just a literature concerning something.
Okay, thank you. Thank
I
you,
am
Rose.
just trying.
No, it's okay. Thank you, Rose.
Thank you.
Lorna?
Thank you.
Yes, can I say it's a statement or an idea that needs to be factualized?
Okay, thank you. And
Yes.
we say, like all of you, what you're saying is when we talk about a theory, it is something which is going to explain a particular situation or something which is going to make us to know what is really going to happen. Eh? But when we talk about a theory, it's a systematic way of explaining a fact, like what you have just said, or an event. What is this which is going to happen? An idea which is going to explain something. So all of you, you are right. And when we talk about these theories, they are guiding a set of guiding principles. Research has been done, they have looked at it, and they have come up with some recommendations. So these theories, they also give us a framework, which is going to help us to explain some observations, some things which we are observing, some behaviors which you're observing. You can be able to work within that framework that you are expecting maybe, or an outcome which is going to be happening. Like for instance, you can look at the clouds. When you see the sky is blue, what do you tell yourself? What can you predict? When it's very blue, sky blue, what do you tell yourself?
It's going to be sunny and maybe hot.
And when we start seeing clouds, then you start telling yourself it might rain. Eh? So you are having you are going to explain something which you are an idea you have, and this one is going to be based on assumptions and is going to help us to predict what is going to happen. And that is why we are looking at these theories. That's why we are learning about the theories. How will you know that a theory is good? I know there's some theories you have gone through, and some of them you have agreed with them, some of them you have disagreed with them. But we always say that whether a theory is good to you or not, what makes this theory to be good, it has to be testable, that it has been tested. Like someone say that literature has been reviewed, research has been done, the samples have been taken, so it is testable. And it has to have that scientific support. When we talk about scientific support, like which methods did you use when you're doing your research? Like, were you using the questioning? Were you interviewing? What technique, what methods were you using? And a good theory, it has to be clear and it has to be logical. It has to make sense. And it has to be very simple. When you're looking at a theory, let it not be so complicated, but we want to come down to the level that you can be able to understand and make sense out of it. And these theories, they have to leave room for further research. That's what you're saying. It has to be fruitful. That's when you are told you do your research paper, you have to look at the gaps, you look at the problem which is there, or you can even research on another research. A research has been done, but when you go through it, you tell yourself, Papa, there's a gap. So you can be able to do research on that. So a good theory is the one which is fruitful, which can be able to leave the gaps for further research, and it has to be practical. So why are we using these theories in counseling? And that's what I'm telling you, you as HR counselors, you're going to practice this. You have to know, like whatever you are doing to your clients, you have to have a background of these theories. And when we talk about theories, it's a foundation of good counseling. That's why I told you, when you're asking your client a question, you have a reason why behind that question. There's something you want to get. It's not about a curiosity question which you're going to ask. And when you're having the background of these theories, they're going to give us an operational guideline, like where we are going to operate. It's going to provide us with that framework. It's going to help us to explain some of the existence of a certain behavior. What is making this behavior to be in existence? So if it is there, how are you going to control it? Like maybe at the workplace, there is a behavior you've observed from your staff, from your employees, and you are looking at it, it's not a helpful behavior. So how are you going to control this behavior? What are you predicting from the way the staff are behaving? So all these theories are going to help us so that we can be able to predict a certain behavior. They can be able to help us to control some of the behaviors. There's some behaviors you might want to unlearn. There are some behaviors you might want them to continue being in existence. So it is you to know how you're supposed to control some of these behaviors. And one of the psychologists called Rolf May says, theory without practice is sterile. Theory without practice is not going to be fruitful, is not going to be helpful. And when you practice without a theory, like what we learned yesterday, and then from there you just go, you want to practice, it is, when you're going to practice like that, you'll be blind. It's like you are a blind person, and it's going to be dangerous because you really don't know what you want to get from there. And that is why we have to go through some of these theories so that we understand. And these theories, as I told you, some people were coming up with theories. Then some were agreeing, some were disagreeing. Like as we're going to look at them briefly, I know there are some things you like about that theory, and some you'll be telling yourself, no, this one, apana, it cannot. So we have classifications of theories. So we are going to look at psychoanalytic approach, which is the first force theory, which can also be called analytical. It can be called analytical. It can be called psychodynamic approach. The first one, which came into force, it's a very powerful theory, and most people started disagreeing with these psychologists, but they were borrowing from this theory. Then became the behaviorists. The behaviorists disagreed with what psychoanalytic approaches were talking about. So we are going to look at the behavioral theory and cognitive behavioral approach. Then still, there are some people, that's why I told you a good theory is the one which leaves room for further research and it becomes fruitful. So there are some also who disagreed with the behaviorists, and these are the humanistic. We are going to look at person-centered and Gestalt theory, and because of time, we will not be able to look at the family systems. So those are some of the approaches, and they're so detailed, but I'll just give an overview of the same. So we are not going to go into much details on all these theories, but I'll just mention them. So we are going to look at the psychoanalysis theory. And the founder of this theory is Sigmund Freud. Sigmund Freud, briefly, if I have to talk about him, he was a Jewish by heritage. And remember, most people were coming up with the theories from what they have experienced, from what they have gone through. So Sigmund Freud is the one who came up with this theory. And for him, he grew up in a very hostile environment, and he was from a large family of 8 siblings. So when you see that, that large family, you can see the conflict which can be there. And his mother was the second wife. So as he grew up in the poor conditions, he really struggled. And by age 17, he had completed his university. He had joined the university, and he was studying medicine. And I know some of us, there's some, okay, what can I say? There's some things we do and we don't like. And like I like even having time so that everyone can tell us, do you like what you're doing now? Do you like even the job or the work? When I talk about work, remember we talked about work, how you spend your 24 hours? There's some things you do which you don't like. Or there's some things you're telling yourself, I don't think I'm here, but wacha nishikilie as I'm looking for the way forward. Do we have some of us who don't like what we are doing? Do we have some of us who don't like what we are doing? You people, you are contented? Me, since I started working, I've never liked what I'm doing. I have my full-time job, but I've never, if anytime I feel like I'm going to work, I become sick. But when I'm told go somewhere and you talk and you do something, I'm very okay. But nikisikia kazi, I'm always sick. So there are some of us who are not contented with what we're doing. Yes, I like what I'm doing currently. That's Roline. Yes, thank you. But there are some of us, we are just there because we don't have another option. That is what happened to Sigmund Freud. He was, he trained, he studied medicine, but for him, by age 22, he had started even lecturing at the same university. And for him, he felt that he was there by default. So that's why I'm telling you, there are some people who can do something and they feel like they're there by default, but they continue working until they get something or the green pastures. So for him, he wanted mostly to work with clients from the social perspective, but not from the medical perspective. So he studied psychiatry, where he wanted to deal with the clients from the social perspective, but still, and he really wanted to deal with the people who are suffering from mental disorder. So, but still he felt that I am still not in the right track. So he realized that most of his clients, their problems emanated from the organic related problems. And he felt like even being a psychiatrist, he was still not very comfortable there. He departed and he started what we call hypnosis. Hypnosis is whereby you put your clients, they lie on the couch, they face the ceiling, and then they talk about their issues. And he felt like, this one still, sijafika. He went and studied what we call the emotional expression, where he was letting his clients to emotionally express their issues. They talk about their issues and people started talking freely. There's a technique we're going to call to study, which is called the free association. When people were emotionally expressing out their emotions, they were using the free association, whereby they were able to talk about the issues they were going through. So during that time, in that community where he was living, people felt free and they were talking about the issues. And when we look at it, for him, he says that most of the issues which clients were going through was sexual related conflict. So you'll see in this theory, you'll be talking so much about the issues of sexual. So during that time, people in his community started talking freely about sex. So imagine people talking about sex and they're talking in their mother tongue, and his clinic was closed down. Aliambiwa hapa haitafanyika. So his clinic was closed down, and then he was put into isolation. During this period, he subjected himself to the same study, whereby he came to discover that he had a conflict of sexually related. And this is whereby he realized that when he was a child and he was growing up, by the way, let me ask you this. The boy child is close to who and the girl child is close to who? Before I complete that one. The girl child.
Can I answer?
Yes, Joshua?
The girl child is always aligned to the father, and the boy child is always aligned to the mother.
Mm-hmm. And I know, thank you so much, Joshua. And I know most of us, we don't like seeing the boy child being close to the mother. Unasikia unaambiwa wacha tabia mbaya, leave the kitchen, don't be near your mother, you know you are a man, you know it happens. But thank you so much, according to Sigmund Freud, for him, he realized that as he was growing up, he was very close to his mother, and he even wanted to have sexual relationship with his mother. So, and at this time, he had a lot of hatred to the father. Why? They were competing for the same object. And this time, okay. So he hated the father so much, and he was very close to the mother. So because they were competing for the same object, that's why he was hating the father. But we are going to look at that concept as we move on. And for him, this founder, Sigmund Freud, when he was almost going to die during almost towards the end, he was a heavy smoker and he suffered migraines, he had anxiety disorder, and he had a lot of extreme of fear of death. So, and before he died, he had jaw cancer. He had cancer of the jaw. And because he was a heavy smoker, he underwent 33 operations before he died. And those 16 years, they were very, very painful. So that is a brief background about this founder of psychoanalysis. So you can see where it's coming from. So most of the things which we'll be seeing now in this theory, they will be related to the experiences he went through because he had subjected himself to the same study. Okay, so let's look at some of the concepts under this theory. He came up with concepts. Concepts is like for you to be able to understand a situation. And once you understand these concepts, then later we are going to look at how you come in and you help your client. So one of the concepts he came up with was the philosophy of human nature. How was he viewing the human beings? And for him, he looked at it after the research he did, that behavior is determined by the unconscious motives and feelings. Like what makes us to behave the way we are behaving is because of those feelings which we have suppressed or repressed to the unconsciousness. This is what makes us to behave the way we are behaving. You know, out here, we are seeing some anger. We are seeing people are so arrogant, but underneath, we really don't know what is making them to behave the way they're behaving. So for him, he said, we have repressed most of the issues to the unconsciousness. We are not aware about them, but we have repressed them. So as you repress them, now out here, we start behaving in a way we are not even able to understand, because all these issues which we don't have control over them. So you find that they just come. So that's why they say what makes us to behave the way we are behaving is because of the unconscious feelings or motives which we have repressed and we are not aware about them. So under the interventions, we are going to see how we're supposed to retrieve this information which we have repressed to the unconsciousness. Then he also said what makes you and me to behave the way we are behaving is determined by the conflict between the sexual drives and the aggressive drives. So I told you we'll be talking about the issues of sexual. I don't know the sexual, you know, but for him, when he's talking about sexual, that is the sexual conflict, is anything with that happiness, anything which gives you that excitement, anything which makes you to be in a state of motivated, anything which may be like, which perpetuates your life, which makes you to feel like you have a reason why to live, something which makes you to feel happy. Like when maybe you do your exam and you pass, how do you feel? How do you feel when you do your exam and you pass that exam? How do you feel? Please, Rose mute. How do you feel? How do you feel? Hey, I'm gonna have feelings. You don't have feelings. Evelyn is saying you feel happy. So when you feel happy, you are laughing, you are excited. Sigmund Freud says you are being driven by the sexual drives. But we also have the aggressive drives. And remember the sexual lives, this is about the life instinct, something which gives you that happiness. But again, we have the aggressive drives. When he was talking about aggressive drives, these are things which can destroy. This is when you talk about the death. This is what kills life. This is what maybe brings in that cruelty, that self-destruction. It brings in that aggression. So, and this is whereby when you are not happy, and you find some people, they're always very gloomy, they're always very sad. So for Sigmund Freud, he says that those people, they are being driven by their aggressive drives. And that is what he said. This one can determine how we are going to behave. Are you being driven by the sexual or aggressive drives in your life? I don't know, as you are here today at this particular time, what is determining your behavior? Is it the aggressive or is it the sexual? Hello, as much as I'm not seeing you, what are you telling yourself? What is determining your behavior now? I wish we had put the videos there. So you find someone, come here, you are just talking, she's or he's just there, they're not smiling, they're not happy, then you know they're being driven by the aggressive drives. If they're happy, they're smiling, they're excited, they want to be in this class, or they feel like Flora is not doing anything, then they get driven by the aggressive drive. There are some who are being driven by the sexual drive. So when you see people being sad, being happy, let's not continue blaming them. And then behavior is deterministic. Let me just get one of you just sharing. Can you be able to remember what happened to you when you were below 10 years? Just try to remember what happened to you when you are below 10 years. And whatever happened to you, what impact has it had to you as an adult, whether positive or negative? So because of time, I just want maybe one to share, or we have two. Let's see how we can go. And you share briefly what you went through, how it affected you, and how it has continued to affect you either positively or negatively.
Can I share?
Yes.
All right, good morning, everybody. I think mine is one that had most significant impact was my mom getting married, and I was not involved in the conversation. So she got married when I was about 10, 11. And later in life, we had a very difficult relationship with my dad. So, but then we resolved it a bit later when I was an adult, but that had a lot of impact because it took many years to get us seeing things from the same page. Yeah.
And currently, Miriam, I know as you're also growing up, is it having another impact, a positive one or a negative one in your relationships?
I think because of the fact that I'm the one who approached my dad much later in adulthood, just to have that conversation about what had happened many years back, probably about maybe 15 or so years back. We sort of mended our ways, and now we have a healthy relationship and we can actually have conversation, which was not there previously. So it's made me a bit more aware about myself and those things when they keep coming up. You know, certain things keep coming up and you feel like maybe this person doesn't want to involve me, or they don't want to involve me in a major decision. So I step up and ask them, I feel like this is what you're moving towards, but I need you to give me the details. So it's made me more self-aware in my relationships and more inclusive. Yeah, just more inclusive in those major decisions, because that was a major decision in my parents' lives. And so I have found that I am more conscious of certain things, especially those major decisions that are life-changing, just to engage somebody and involve somebody before we move on so that we can move together. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Miriam. Anyone else? Thank you for sharing, Miriam. Anyone else? What happened to you when you were below 10 years and the impact it has had on you, whether positive or negative? And remember, this theory tells us you cannot tell someone that you can't remember in a kata. So it's only that when you're not ready to share, hizo tunaitanga resistances, you're not willing, but just share, something small. It can sound small to you, but or to me, but it's something which is very serious. Let's have one more.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay, so for me, I think when I was younger, most of the time, decisions would be made on my behalf, like even the smallest things. And I feel like because of that, I'm so indecisive up to now. Like I struggle with making decisions.
Mhm, mhm. Thank you. That's Rachel. Thank you so much, Rachel. So, and I wish we had enough time. Each one of us, we get to go down or back to our childhood experiences. And that is what Sigmund Freud says, behavior is deterministic. And what is this which is going to determine this behavior? It's about our childhood experiences. Those traumatic experiences we got through, those childhood experiences which we were able to go through during that time. Do you know it can affect us? You might find maybe your parents were very strict. And if you used to go to a neighbor's place to eat there, maybe you were beaten thoroughly. Until today, you don't like eating at other people's place. Because you don't, alafu someone says they're naringa, they're proud, they don't want to eat, but you don't know where they're coming from. And this person maybe is not aware that that is what is making them to behave that way. So he says that mostly when you see some people behaving the way they're behaving is because of their childhood experiences which they went through. Like now you have heard what Rachel is saying, and someone will be complaining, why can't Rachel make a decision? She's a person who is mature, she can make her own decision, but not that she doesn't know, but she has that fear because most of the things were being done for her. So mostly what makes people or determines the behavior of people is their childhood behaviors or childhood experiences. Thank you so much. So if we go for that further training, the one which will take longer time, we'll be able to have enough time. So you learn from other people that let's not take things for granted. Let's get to know their experiences. That's why at times when you are in a session, you can ask your client to go to their childhood experiences and they share. Is there anything you can be able to remember which happened to you when you were young? So from there, you'll be able to connect it with the way these clients are behaving. Yeah? So the other concept which Sigmund Freud also came up with is the structure of personality. And for the structure of personality, Sigmund Freud looked at the human personality, which is made up of the 3 connection system, that is of the mind. And this is what makes people also to behave the way they are behaving. And he says that this structure of personality is very key. And he looked at these 3 connections of the mind. And the first one is the id. Id is not a abbreviation, but that is what he called it. And when you look at this id, this is a biological. This id is biological in the sense that it requires satisfaction. This mind, it requires satisfaction. It only wants to have that pleasure. It doesn't want to go through that pain. And by the way, this mind is very primitive. Why? Why is it very primitive? Because it is present from birth. And this mind, it operates in the unconsciousness. Like whatever it's doing, it's not even aware that that is what it is doing. And this mind, it is constantly demanding for attention. Like I don't know whether you have seen a child, the small babies, they cry until you give them the bottling feed or you give them the breast so that they can breastfeed, then they cannot be able to keep quiet. So you find that they are demanding that attention because you look at it, it's like this mind is so immoral, it is so irrational, it is a spoiled personality. And you find that this mind, it works so hard so that it can be able to avoid that pain, that tension, that anxiety. And this mind mostly, it's governed by the pleasure principle. And this is where I usually ask myself, you have seen a lady of 90 years being raped. So you find someone maybe wanted to have this sex, and you cannot tell if you want it, you want it. It is now, not tomorrow. And when it wants it, When you tell it, no, it's not now, it's tomorrow, it gets hurt. It goes through that pain. It goes through that tension. Aitaki. So imagine if everyone will be surviving or be controlled by this kind of mind, that whatever you are demanding, you need it. You need a promotion, it's now. Someone tells you, no, let's look at it. It has not been captured. Let's get the money for it. And you are demanding for it. Then you are being governed by the id, the id mind. That is the pleasure principle. Then the other mind, which you also talked about, is the ego. Ego is psychological. When it says psychological, it is like a manager. Is the one which has to manage these other two minds. It has to manage the id, it has to manage the super ego. And when you look at this ego, it is aware of reality. So this one is aware of the reality, and it is mostly constant with the external world. So that is why it is in touch with the reality. It knows what you are asking for. It knows when it needs to be asked. It knows what is supposed to be done. And you find that mostly it considers some of the consequences out of the actions which they are going to take. So it has to think, it has to reason, and it deals with the id and the super ego. We are going to look at the super ego, but when it is dealing with the id, it is telling the id, no, it is not now. Can you wait? Because this ego, it's in touch with the external world. And you find that the ego, it's logical, it's rational, it incorporates that problem-solving abilities, it can make decisions, and it's being governed by the reality principle. So anything you're asking for, it's saying, if it's done now, what will be the consequences? If it has to wait, what will be the consequences? So it has to think, it has to reason. And this one is conscious. Remember the id, we said it's unconscious. Then we have another mind, which is the super ego. Super ego, this one is about the social component, which is mostly concerned with morality. And this super ego is formed from the introjections from our society's values. Like what you're doing, is it good or is it bad? Is it right or is it wrong? So, and this mind, this is the super ego, it has very high moral standards. There are things which you need to do right. You are not supposed to be doing A, B, C, D. So this super ego, it demands perfection. Like what I usually say, because it is about the introjections of the values of that society, like when I go to my village where I'm married, I cannot apply Q-Tex. I cannot use, what do I say, lipstick. I cannot be able to wear a trouser. Na msiulize nimeolewa wapi, because those things, for them, when you apply Q-Tex, lipstick, you wear a trouser, hao ni watu wa Koinange, according to them. And when you go there, without you knowing what that society or the society values of those people, they can affect you and you'll get so overworked. All the time you'll keep on hiding, you don't want people to see you, so you will get so stressed because it is so demanding. It wants that perfectionist. It wants you to do the right way, the way things are supposed to be done. And you find that you work towards the socially acceptable behaviors of that society. And here it dwells in the consciousness. Remember, the id and the superego, they are dwelling on the unconsciousness. The only one which is conscious is the superego. That is why the ego comes in and tells the superego, you not demand for this. There is change. Things are changing. So you cannot tell us that we need to be where we were sometimes back. So you find that at times, those values and beliefs which were instilled in us by our parents, we need to be following them, we need to be doing that. But when you go against them, you have those guilt forces which can be able to affect us. So you find this superego, it's being governed by the moralistic principle. Now here, the conflict comes in. remember these three minds they are supposed to balance. So when you find that the id is demanding so much, it's dealing with that pleasure principle, it doesn't want to have that tension, and the ego tries to control it or is not able to control it, then it is going to affect the ego. So when the ego is weakened, that it cannot be able to reason, it cannot be able to solve the issues which they are getting or it's getting from the superego or from the id. And this is now what can bring in some of the mental issues. And you find that there will be no that balance. And when there will be no that balance, then it's going to weaken the ego. And then this individual is going to suffer from the psychological difficulties because they cannot be able to reason. It's demanding, it wants, you are looking at that pleasure, you are looking at the moral principles. Now the reality is not working. This one can make someone to go to have those mental illnesses. And that is why this theory says that we need to help this structure of personality to be balanced. So the ego has to be strengthened so that it can be able to manage all those other minds. So when you are demanding, ukienda workplace, you have gone for the course, you've brought your papers, you want that promotion, then there you're being governed by the id. If you're governed by the id, then the ego needs to control you. But no, wait for the advertisements, wait for all this. Then the other concept we are going to look at is the psychosexual stages of development. I told you this man liked talking about the sexual issues, but I've told you sexual issues are those things which give you that pleasure, gives you that happiness, makes you excited, all those ones. So for him, he says that what we also need to understand, like now when you have talked about the structure of personality, when a client comes to you and they are not able to make decisions, they cannot be able to find they cannot be able to find a solution to the problem they are going through because their ego is weakened. It's you now to help them so that you can help them to strengthen their ego. The other concept you need to put at the back of your mind when you're helping clients is about the psychosexual stages of development. How did you negotiate your sexual stages? How did you develop? And this ones we say, if we had time, each one of us, we can be able to go through this so that you can be able to understand whether you are able to negotiate these stages well. Were you able to negotiate them? And one of the stages which Sigmund Freud talks about is the oral stage. Oral stage, this one is between the 0 to 18 months. And this time, this when the child has started crawling, whatever they get, they put it into the mouth. And for him, he say that interaction here, it occurs around the mouth. And here, it's like the pleasure is derived from the oral stimulation, whereby anything the child gets from, we get that stimulation or that satisfaction around the mouth. That's why you find people, they're eating, they're cycling, there are all those activities, the ulimi, the tongue is turning, the lips are moving, they want to put something in the mouth. That is when they're getting that pleasure. So he says that during this stage, the child stimulates their pleasure around the mouth. That's why you find anything, even if it's your shoes, you just come from whichever place, they'll just pick it and put it in the mouth, because for them, that's where they'll be able to get that pleasure. If this stage is not negotiated well, by the way, if you look at, even if you're not told by your parents, do you know for how long you sucked? Can you be able to know how long you sucked? Have you been told, or are you aware about it? Hello? For how long did you suck? 6 months? 3 months? Or you didn't suck? Hello?
6 months.
6 months? 6 months, yes. Yani wengine hamukunyonya. Some of you didn't suck. Okay. If we had
1.5.
a physical class, 1.5. Oh, you tried. If we had a physical class. Hello. So if like someone is saying 2 months, 5 months, I did not. I did not. So there are some here, kina Evelyn, kina David. Thank you so much for each one of you. And I know there are some of you even who start when I end Shule, they come back and they continue. But for him who say that, if you are not able to negotiate this stage well, you never went through that stage well, when you grow up, when now you are an adult, it can have an impact on you. The fixation is going to occur. And some of the problems which you're going to go through during this time, you'll find these people, they'll be chewing so much. I don't know, they have seen people who are chewing all the time. They're always chewing. They become smokers. They'll be smoking. There'll be people who will be gossiping. Gossiping is like the people like talking so much. So that pleasure, sitakuwa kwa lips, kwa tongue, and the mouth. They will be eating all the time. We say they can be overeating, but they want to see something being in their mouth. They will also be nail biting. Unapata someone who is biting their nails. So those are some of the problems they are going to go through if they never negotiated well during the oral stage. So I don't know the ones who have shared the time they circled, whether they have some of those behaviors. And we say some of them, okay? Which is okay. Even the ones who did it for like 2 years or 3 years, they can still do the same. But those are the effects of if you are not able to negotiate that stage well. Any question on the oral stage? So if you find yourself there, so when you see people wanapenda kwa ofisi, moving from one office to the other, they are talking so much, mpaka you start asking, Flora, when do you sit down and work? Maybe just remember, maybe I might have gotten fixated at the oral stage. Now those are some of the issues I'm going through. Please know how to handle me. The next stage which Sigmund Freud talks about is the anal stage. Anal stage is between 18 months to 3 years. And during this time, this is when we start training our children on the potty, the bowel and the bladder control. So this is about the toilet training. And we need to train them on how they're supposed to control those movements. And they learn on how to control his or her body needs, which is very, very important. And developing this control, it leads to a sense of accomplishment and independence. When a child goes to a potty, what do? You tell them, hey, good. You know, it's like you're complimenting them. Then a child will come to learn, when I go to the potty, I'm appreciated. And at this stage, we need to be praising our children anytime they do something good. When they have gone, they have been able to release themselves, their bladder, their bowel, they have done that. Please appreciate them, recommend them, reward them. Then from there, the child is going to look at it positively. And it says that if a child is not able to negotiate well under the anal stage, and by the way, let me ask this. Like some of you, I know you have left your beds, or you are in the office, or you are somewhere. Did you spread that bed? Did you spread the bed before you left your house? And don't tell me you left someone there. Yes? Be very genuine. Did you spread the bed? Yes? Be very genuine.
No,
Did you
jana jioni za disciplinary fulani nilikuwa nataka uangalie minutes.
No.
Wow. Huyo ako kivyake.
Nilitomata around 6.
Please mute. If you are not sharing, kindly mute. Miriam, mute. Please mute. Okay. Did you spread your beds in the morning? Mulitandika. Like even...
No.
Who has said no?
Me,
Rachel.
Rachel.
Thank you. Yes. Mumetandika. And I know some of you have even left and you have gone to work. Wow. Wengine, no. Miriam Tundi ame spread. Now, David, you spread your bed.
Go.
No one left the child sleeping. But someone is saying, yes, of course. No. Like me, I can't remember when I spread my bed last. My spouse is not around. Mina mkanga tu. Sijioni nitaingia tu. So let's not be blaming one another. Like even if you have left your house and you have gone for your work, did you prepare your clothes last night? Or you woke up in the morning is when you are looking at what you're going to wear? Just be very genuine. It's not me who is asking, Sigmund Freud. Mulijipanga usiku, or it is this morning you started preparing yourselves?
This morning.
Ndio unafika unaangalia unajikuta looking for them in this morning, today morning. And there are some who start preparing even in the evening. So thank you so much. If you negotiated well during this annual stage and that time you were able to move on, we have the fixation can occur twice under the annual stage. We have the annual aggressive and we have the annual retentive. When we talk about annual aggressive, some of the characters, remember this is about toilet training. I don't know whether you have seen a child, wakati mumewatoa munaitanga pampers ama munaziita nini? Diapers, mumetoa mtoto, and then a child maybe releases themselves. They are not able to control their bowel. Now wameweka their poo everywhere. Then they remember they have forgotten a cup behind. They'll come again stepping on that poo. Have you seen such like children? And there are some, when they are wet or they want to be changed, they'll cry until you change them. But there are some, their pampers are going to be, they are going to be wet back as a sag. They're not complaining, they're just there. So it is you, as I'm going to talk about this, is going to lead you know how are you. And even these are the people, when you're doing physical classes, someone is taking down notes and you want to borrow notes in class. There are some you cannot even be able to read those notes. Flora, thank you. But you want maybe just give me your notes because she writes well, handwriting is good. It's about how they negotiated their annual stage. So you find the ones who are annual aggressive, who got fixated there. You'll find that they are too lenient. They're so messy. They're very wasteful. They're very destructive. They have that anger. So it's you to get to know where you are falling. They can also be so disorderly. They're very stubborn. They are so disorganized. They are so careless. Hao ndio wale wanavaa green na yellow na white na black, wanakuuliza what is the problem? Say I'm dressed. So they can even wake up without spreading their bed. There are some who wake up before they dress up, they have to spread the bed. Wengine wetu like me, ninatafuta mahali ya kuwekelea, sio lazima nitandike. So you find that these people are so disorganized. The ones who are aggressive, who are having those annual aggressive. But the ones who are very strict, the ones who are able, when they're wet, they have to cry mpaka wabadirishe. When they were young, they cannot be able to move, they can't do anything. When they grow up, these people, they have some of the characters whereby they are very strict. They have that orderliness. They are so rigid. They are so precise. There's that strictness. They're very, what do I say? They have that excessive neatness. Yes, people are neat, but kunao wako very neat. They are the ones who are perfectionists. You are supposed to come to work at 8 o'clock, not 2 minutes past 8. But the ones who are aggressive, they just come to work. Sibora nimekuja. So whether I come at 8:30 or 9, as long as I come and I do my work. Now you find this other person who is very strict, who is a perfectionist, who wants to see things being done in order. They get so worked up. So if you are a retentive, you have that retentive character, you are so organized, you are time conscious, you want to see things being done in order. If there are targets, you start from A, you go to B, you go to C, but the other one wants to start from anywhere. So you want to see the work being done. So each one of them can get worked up because of the behavior of the other one. So if you're a person who is disorganized, can you be able to accommodate the person who is organized? If you're organized, can you be able to accommodate this person who is disorganized so that you can be able to work together? So when you look at your office, there are people who are having different characters, they're behaving differently. You ask for a document, they will take like 1 hour so that they can get it. Please don't blame them. And there are some, you just ask for that document, they go and they know where it is, they pick it and they bring it. So whichever area you will be, please let's not blame one another. Remember, it's how they negotiated on their annual stage. The other one, these other ones I go very fast because of time. Then we talk about the phallic stage. Phallic stage is between age 3 to 6. And you find that during this time, the children have started going to school. And you find that most of the children here, they derive their satisfaction from stimulating their own genitals. Hasa huyu Sigmund Freud anatupeleka wapi? They were stimulating them. And for him, he came up with 2 concepts under this phallic stage. One of the concepts is the Oedipal complex. Remember, I gave you a brief background about Sigmund Freud, how he was, he felt like he needed to have sexual relationship with his mother, how he felt that he didn't like his father. Now that is the Oedipal complex, whereby the boys view their fathers as rivals, and they have that affectionate to the mothers, and they describe the feeling of wanting to possess their mother, and they desire to replace their fathers. And that is why I told you they are competing for the same object. And this is whereby now you find this boy child, they have that fear that their fathers can castrate them. You know, they have the castration fear and they have that anxiety disorder. And we need to look at this, that is for boys. And then we have another concept, which is the Electra complex. Electra complex is for girls, whereby for these girls, they look at their father as a source of jealousy. And for them, they have that envy of penis. They are asking, you know why they don't like their mothers? Huh? Why are the boys having the penis and me, I don't have it? And then they're asking their mothers that question. And because they came up now with the penis envy, the girls whereby they're blaming their mothers because of lack of that. And this one, it causes a lot of tension. I don't know whether you have seen a girl child and their mother, they are always in loggerheads. They are not in terms. Kitu kidogo washaruka. But when we're there with their father, they are very polite. They talk nicely. So it is about the Electra complex. So this phallic stage, he talks about how a boy child fears their father, how they're close to their mother, and the girl child, how he hates, there's that tension between the girl and the mother, but they are very close to their father because now they're able to get that symbolic penis, which they don't have. Hizo vitu mnakubaliana nazo? Then he talks about the 4th stage, which is the latency stage. The latency stage, this is age 6 to 12 years. And during this time now, the issues of sex are supplemented. So it's like they are, how do I say? They are replayed, and the sexual feelings here, they're inactive. Remember, under the phallic, they're stimulating their own genitals. But now under phallic, hizo zote zinapotea. Now here you find that a child starts now interacting with other children. This is when children go out there, they start playing chamama, chapapa, whereby they are interacting. And this is where you find that mostly the child is able to discover their talents. They are able to come up with them. They start cooking, they start maybe playing, making the mad food, or the cars or the balls. Here, you find that a child now discovers their potential. And here you find that there's so much concern with the peer relationship. They want to relate with the others. They want to know their hobbies. They want to know their interests. And this is where most of us as parents, we like making our children not to be children. My child should not go out. It is so dusty. It's wrong. You see, all that one, but we are saying that let a child be a child. Let him or her go out there, mix that mud, come up with whatever they can be able to, and this is the time you can be able to pick the potential of your child. And mostly they say that there's no fixation at this stage. So the last one is the genital stage, and the genital stage is between 12 years and 18 years. And this is where now the girl and the boy, okay, under the latency stage, children play of the same sex, two boys together, girls together. But under the genital stage, now they're having the opposite sex, they're coming together and they're sharing. And this is where also we need to look at. This is when a child also has this conflict. You remember, this is the adolescent stage. They really don't know what is supposed to be done, what they're not supposed to do. And this is when we are telling our children they need to be at home. You need not supposed to be with boys or with girls. You know, it's wrong, whereby they also get confused. So this is where now a child can be able to pick what is right for them and what is not right for them. Whom are they supposed to be with and whom are they not supposed to be with? And it's like they're being told what they're supposed to do, and at the back of their mind, they also know what they're supposed to be doing. So you find that this is where also we need to understand that children at this stage, they need to negotiate these stages. I could have gone into much details, but because of time, I'll stop there for the developmental stages. So when a client comes to you, and they're talking about their issues, it is you also to be able to assess what stage or which stage maybe they got fixated. So once you are understanding the stage, then from there you can be able to see how to help this client. Any question up there? I'll go very fast because this is only the first theory and we have not looked at the others. So Sigmund Freud also talks about the anxiety, which we also need to understand. Remember, these ones are giving you a background so that when you be talking to your client, you know where you are coming from. So the other one is about the anxiety. And when we talk about anxiety, it's just that state we find ourselves whereby we have that tension. And this tension, it compels us maybe to do something. We have three types of anxiety. You can either talk about the reality anxiety, like there's some people who fear darkness, who fear heights, who fear men or women. You know, that's a reality. So we talk about it's based on something real and which is so threatening. And also we have the neurotic anxiety. And I know this is where we tell ourselves, you have fear of the unknown. You really don't know what is making you to have this fear. So this fear of the unknown, or like fear of losing sanity, ushaanza kufika huko. Then it's like you cannot even be able to explain why you're having such like fear. Then we have fear of the moral anxiety. Moral anxiety is now when you fear that you're going to break the values of that society or the beliefs, or like what you're doing is not right or it's wrong. That is the fear. What will people say if they find me now going to visit someone's house at 12 in the night? You see, those are the fears we are talking about, which is not right, that you need to be visiting these people. When you have this fear, when you have this anxiety, we have some, because you are compelled to do something. So when you have this fear, at times we use what we call the ego defense mechanisms. And under ego defense mechanisms, I'm just going to look at like 2 or 3, then the others we'll talk about them later. When we talk about the ego defense mechanism, like a conflict has occurred. Like there's that what you wish. There's something you want to achieve. There's something you want to do. But when you look at the external realities, it cannot be able to work. If it doesn't, then you have to use the defense mechanisms. And this defense mechanisms, they're psychological processes which all of us we use so that we can be able to protect ourselves, especially when we have that discomfort or we have that tension. So when you are told that maybe you're going to be transferred or you're not going to be promoted, you get so worked up. Your wish was you get promoted, but the reality is you have not gotten promoted. Then you are going to have this feeling of discomfort and tension. What is going to help you to move on? Because it has come and it has happened and you've been left out. And all of it, then we are going to use the defense mechanism. And each one of us, every person uses these defense mechanisms. So using the defense mechanisms according to him, it is not wrong. They can be used as long as we're not supposed to prolong using those defenses, or we should not persistently use the defenses. There's some people, once now you have not been promoted, I'm just giving it because of the workplace, or maybe you have lost someone who was very significant to you, and you keep on being in denial, like, no, she has not died or he has not died. And you keep on using it throughout. That is what you are saying. It is not good. Because if you continue prolonging them or persistently using them, they are going to distort the reality, which means you're not going to accept the reality. So it's going to make the reality to look like they are false. Then, when you are using these defense mechanisms, by the way, you are not aware that you are using them. So we use them unconsciously. Some of the defense mechanisms, you see, there are so many. So I'll just pick like just 3. And from there, the others, maybe we'll be able to look at them later. One of the defense mechanisms is repression. Remember, like what Sigmund was saying, what determines our behavior is because of the unconsciousness, which we have repressed, of the feelings of whatever we have gone through. And when you have repressed them, this one, the first one is about repressing. When we talk about repression, this is, you find that mostly we have gone through maybe painful experiences and you want to forget that experience. What do? You push it from your awareness. It goes to the unconsciousness. You push it from you where you can be able to remember that. But once you have pushed it, where have you pushed it to? You have only repressed it. So that issue is still in existence because it has not been resolved. That's why you tell someone, like I was asking, can you remember what happened to you when you're below 10 years? So that issue, we had only repressed it. So that issue, we had only repressed it, but it is in existence. That's why we say we need to help our clients so that they can be able to retrieve the information which they had pushed to their unconsciousness so that it can come to their awareness. And how we're going to do this, we are going to look at the techniques. And the other one is being in denial. Denial, this is whereby we are not able, or we are rejecting the reality. Because this reality, it's so unpleasant to us. We want always to be there, we distort it. We don't want to, and when you keep on distorting it, it's not going to be easy for you to have that proper adjustment or accepting the reality. So that is why mostly, like, you find the people are bereaved. This is what they usually use. And please, we need to know how to work with this so that a client can be able to deal with this denial. And that's what we say, that some of us, we just behave the way we are behaving because of the issues we had repressed, and we are not aware about that. So we need to help clients so that they can be able to deal with this denial. And let me talk about humor. Most of us, there are some people who are too serious. And that is, there's a theory, we're going to look at it. If you take life too serious, it will also be serious on you. And he also says that a child, I know during COVID, you were at home, you're with children, they were running up and down. If you had that experience, they were messing up all the time. You beat them, they go out crying, they come back, they're laughing. Children, they can be beaten, they cry, but they can laugh at least 150 times. But you and me, because of the pressure of the economy, things are so tough. there's the financial constraints, bad relationship at the workplace, and you find that even at homes we don't have good relationships. So you find that even affording that laughter, it's an issue. Mpaka you can come to maybe Diana's office and then you go back and you say, what? Leo Diana amecheka. Today Diana was laughing. Seriously? Diana, with due respect, did you see her or you were told? Because at times people take life too serious. And if you take it too serious, it will also be serious on you. I remember I was at the workplace, and then one of my colleagues in the office, this was a clerical officer, he told me, hey, Flora, you like laughing here all the time. Ni kama mzee hajawahi kutengeneza kidogo. And he was putting it in his mother tongue. It was sounding so funny. And you know that night, nilikuwa nishatengenezwa. So you find, if your workplace, okay, if your home is not conducive, what do you need to do? Sorry, I'm still breaking. Okay, so you find that as I was at home, maybe it was not conducive for me. When I go to my workplace, ile kicheko yote I didn't have at my house, so I was making use of that environment. That's why we need to make the work environments to be conducive for people. If work environment is not conducive, make your home environment to be conducive. If home environment is not conducive, make your workplace to be conducive. So you find that you and me, because life is so hard, issues are too many, there are so many conflicts which are going on, we can only laugh 6 times in a day. Na mtoto skin 150 minimum. But you and me, you can only laugh 6 times. So remember, don't take life too serious. It will also be serious on you. So I don't know which one you want me to talk about, or I leave them there so that when we get time, or the time maybe we'll be meeting on 22nd of May, we can be able to talk more about them. We share experiences, you know how it feels. Then this is when you'll be able to know, let's not take life for granted. By the way, when people talk about their issues is when you'll be able to know. Like this displacement of displacement defense mechanism. You get annoyed from your workplace, you come home, your wife is an issue when she talks anything, then the wife now, because she cannot hit back to the spouse, she hits back to the children cannot hit back to the mother, they go to the maid cannot beat the boss's children, she'll go to the kitchen and the cups will be broken there. You displace your anger to the easier object. And this is what you find most of us doing, but we are not aware because we use them unconsciously. But we say, Sigmund Freud says, it's okay to use them, but let's not prolong in using these defense mechanisms. This is the consciousness and the unconsciousness which we are talking about, the issues which we are pushed to the consciousness, and you find most of the materials. It's found in the unconsciousness. Ukiona kitu kidogo, you push it. When you see someone, you're admiring this person, you push it. You are given an assignment, someone has annoyed you, you push it. So all the information, we have pushed it into the unconsciousness. What we are aware about is just 10%. And that is why he brought about the iceberg. I don't know whether you have come across this iceberg, like what we are aware. This is what is in our consciousness is just 10%. And what we can take a few minutes to remember is very little. But where we have a lot of information, the 90% of the information, you can see this iceberg, most of it, it's in the down here, and you find that what is on the tip is very little, but most of it is down on this iceberg. So you find that most of the information is on the unconsciousness. So how are we going to help these clients so that they can be able to retrieve this information, which is not resolved, but they have only pushed it down there so that it can be able to come to their awareness. So I'll just look at the techniques very briefly because of time. Wow. Is going. So some of the techniques is we talk about the psychoanalysis. One of them is maintaining the analytical framework. When maintaining analytical framework, this is where we say, like when clients come to us, we need to, sorry. We need to maintain that, we need to be neutral. We need to come up with the issue of confidentiality, because now you're coming up with that agreement. You have to agree, you have to come up with that clarity on the payment of fee if they have to. You have to talk about the boundaries. You have to talk about the consistency. You have to be consistent with your client. If you're telling your client you're going to meet at 8:30, please don't come at 1. So if you have made an agreement, can it be that regularity? You be regular in whatever you are doing. So that is why we are saying that you maintain that analytical framework with your client. Whatever agreements you've made with your client, can you be able to maintain it? The other technique is free association. When I was giving you a brief background about Sigmund Freud, he said that he wanted to help clients so that they can go through the emotional expression, which he called catharsis. And catharsis is whereby it's about talk. By the way, counseling is about talking. And talking, where you let your client talk freely. No matter whether they're talking about it makes sense or it sounds silly to you, just listen to them. Because talking alone, it's a healing in itself. So free association is whereby you let your clients freely express themselves. They can start from anywhere and they finish wherever they want to finish. That is the free association. And when they're talking freely, that's why you find they might talk, and that's why you're told when you are lying, please don't talk so much. You might contradict yourself. But if you want to express yourself, talk and let them talk freely. As you're talking, it will help you to retrieve that information which was repressed to the unconsciousness, and then it's going to come to the consciousness. The other technique is the interpretation of resistance. And when we talk about interpretation of resistance, when we talk about resistance, remember I was asking you, you try to share your experience when you're below 10 years. Okay, some, it's me who limited, but you find some don't really feel free to talk about it. So this one, not that they don't have an issue. And by the way, the people want to share the experiences, they really don't have issues. There are those who resist, who fear, even sharing. So those resistances, those are some of the things which can hinder the counseling process. Those are some of the things, maybe at this time, some clients are not willing to share. They're not willing to share. They don't want to talk about their issues. So you know they are resisting. And even if they have to share very selectively. They only share what they feel like they can share, but they're very careful. And at times, maybe this time, if you have to know that the client is going through that resistance, if they are supposed to pay fee, they are not paying. If they're supposed to come for a meeting, they come late. With due respect to the ones who have come late, know that you are using the resistance. The ones maybe they can refuse even to recall the past experiences, that you cannot be able to remember what happened to you when you're below 10 years, or they claim to have forgotten a very significant event in their lives, resistance, or they can even refuse to share or to talk. And if they have to share, they share selectively. Let's not be judgmental to our clients. You need to interpret those resistances. You have to know what is this which is making them not to share. Or whatever they're trying to avoid, you take them back there. The other technique is interpretation of transference. Transference, we say, I don't know whether you've seen in your life, someone comes to you, even those employees, they come to you. When they're talking to you, don't talk to me as if I'm the one who has made you to go through that issue. Am I the one who has made you to go through those issues? So you find that when these clients, they're talking to you, they talk to you as if you're the one who has made them to go through the challenges they are going through. So they are transferring, or they are overreacting towards you as an HR. You find this employee, they talk so harshly to you as if you're the one who has made them to go through that. But this transference, it can either be positive or negative. So if we get time later, we'll be able to discuss that. So when people are overreacting towards you, especially negatively, please let's not react. Let's not judge them. let them be, then later you can ask them when they are calm, what was coming to your mind when you are talking about this? Oh, sorry. Do you know, I thought you are the one, I thought that you are the one who has made me to go through this issue. I'm very sorry, it's not you. So that transference is there. Counter transference now, it is you as an HR who overreacts towards your clients. You are looking at they're the ones who are making you to go through the issues you are going through. And here we say you as an HR, if you start overreacting towards your clients, know there's an issue. Please seek therapy. Go for counseling session so that you get to discover what is this which is making you to overreact to your clients. Then the last one is interpretation and analysis of dreams. Have you ever dreamt? Let me just get one or two if you have not talked. Have you ever dreamt? Am I still breaking? Am I still breaking?
You're clear.
Okay, okay. Have you ever dreamt? Let me get from you. Just share with me one dream so that we can have it as a learning example. And I wish we had time. You hear dreams and you hear how they have an impact in therapy. Someone to share the dream they have had briefly?
I'll share.
Sorry? Yes, Netu?
So I had a dream last night that one of my friends at work were pregnant.
Sorry?
My friend told me that she was pregnant in a dream.
Oh, your friend told you that she was pregnant?
Yes.
And it was in a dream?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Okay, okay. Let's have one more, then I can be able to share that. Thank you, Netu. A dream? And if you have never dreamed, you have an issue. Okay, please dream. Tell me the dream. Hi. You want to tell me, E-theory says there is no forgetting, even resistance. Are you seeing that? Please share. Let's have another example so that we can be able to go through this. Yes? Hi, time, please. I'm looking at time. We have like 1.5 hours and we have not covered 4 theories and mental health. Yes?
I had a dream that my cousin had died.
Okay. So let me use Netu and Ruth's example for the purpose of learning this. Where did this dream come from? Ruth and Netu, where did this dream come from? What made you to start dreaming about this?
I always tease one of my friends that it's time for her to have a baby.
Sorry?
And I said I always tease one of my friends that it's time for her to have a baby, you know, because it's and I think that was playing on my mind, maybe.
So had you shared with her or you had thought about her?
I had the dream first, then I shared with her.
So before you went to share with her, where did this dream come from? You had thought about it, eh?
Yeah.
Okay, okay. Ruth, thank you. Ruth?
For me, I haven't seen him in a very long time. And unfortunately, the only time we get to meet is during burial or funerals. Yeah. For most families, that's when we get to meet. Yeah.
And I'm not sure what made you maybe to start dreaming about him, that he had died.
I wouldn't know, but for the next 2 days, I could not pick up the phone to call him because in the same night, I had dreamt about something which turned to be true. And now for this one, I was scared it could be true. So I called him after 2 days and he confirmed that he was out of town and he'll be coming back soon.
So you didn't want to confirm that again he's also not there. But it's something you thought about because of the other dream which you had or because of the other bereavement you are going through. Thank you. And I know all of us, we have dreamt. And where has that dream come from? Either you thought about it you heard about it, you saw it maybe in the social media, or you saw it in wherever you are. These dreams can come by you using the 5 senses, and they 5, even we have the 6th one. So whatever maybe you just think about it, you brush it. Whatever maybe you saw, like someone is passing in the street and you are seeing a very beautiful or handsome man, you start turning back and looking at him. Unajiambia, we shetani ashindwe. Let me live with that person I chose. Hiyo imeenda wapi? That's now when you go at night, you go to sleep, you start now dreaming about Flora. You call Flora, and Flora was not even on the ground. Mpaka huyo mwenyewe mko na yeye can ask you, who is this? So when Sigmund Freud talks about dreams, he says, the royal road, if you remember the iceberg which we saw, the royal road to the unconsciousness is through dreams. And these dreams which we have, they are expressions of the unfulfilled desires, which all of us we have, and we are trying to fulfill them. And this time, when you have those desires, when you have those issues which you have repressed to the unconsciousness, remember the defense mechanisms are controlling you or they are guiding you. But now when you go to sleep, those defense mechanisms, they have relaxed. And you find that whatever you had repressed, it will sneak out. That material will find its way out and it will come in a form of a dream. That's why you find, like when you are using a bottle of water, you're walking, this water is mixed up with a particle, you are shaking it the whole day, and then you go and put this bottle somewhere to settle. What happens? The particles goes down, the water remains up. So you find that it's the same way. This brain, it has been shaking the whole day. You have been seeing, talking, watching, reading, so many things, but you are pushing them. So now when you go to sleep, they will now come in a form of a dream. So there's no dream, you'll just say you dreamt and you don't know where it came from. It came from those unconscious materials which you had repressed to the unconsciousness. And remember, we say that those are unresolved issues which you have repressed there, they'll come in a form of a dream. So those dreams which we have, please, you can even ask your client to share some of the dreams which they have gone through. So I'll just stop there about the psychoanalysis theory. It's taking us back to the childhood, past experiences, the unrepressed materials, all those ones. What do you say about psychoanalysis theory? Do you agree with him? Because this theory mostly, it is concerned with helping the client just to gain that insight. It's just insight, so that they gain that awareness. They gain the unconscious thoughts which they have, the desires, those memories, the issues which they have repressed. That is what we want to help our clients when they are going through. That is about the Sigmund psychoanalysis theory. Any question on psychoanalysis theory? So I'll not go to the goals before I go to the behavioristic theory. And I'll go very fast so that by 10:30, we are done with this theory so that we can take a few minutes on mental health. Any question on psychoanalysis? What did you like about Sigmund Freud? Anything you liked about him? Okay, people, use the minimal prompts. I was going to sit for exam and I dreamt of the questions coming in exam and it came. Okay. Yani, please use the minimal prompts. Is there anything you are picking positive from psychoanalysis theory? Everything is bad. Would you agree with him? Hello. What do you agree with that theory? Is there anything positive about him?
Yeah, maybe I could just mention that it's true that some of the things we go through when we are kids, or some of the things our kids go through when they are young, they tend to reflect in their lives when they grow old. So yeah.
Okay, thank you. Yes. Yani hakuna kitu mmesoma kwa huyo wake. Okay. Tuachane na yeye kabisa. I can see Njoroge here. Knowing about one childhood will help us to understand where one is coming from. Good. Yeah, because at times, if you become so strict and the child knows about strictness, when they grow up, they also be strict. If you find a child who was brought up and their mother or their father were teachers, you can see a difference. Okay. I don't know what the others are saying, but let's move to the behavioristic theory. I told you this is another classification of the theories, whereby we say that under the psychoanalysis, who are taking us back to our childhood, to our past experiences, to the unconsciousness, to the repressed materials, the behaviorists say, you are taking us, and you want us to remember what happened to us when we were below 10 years. How is it going to help us? Then behaviorists came in. And these behaviorists, when they came in, for them, they say that what makes us to behave the way we are behaving is not about our past experiences. We are going to look at the behavioral theory and cognitive approach. So under the behavioral theory, they say, remember behaviorists, we have two theories, behavioral and cognitive. So behavioral theory, they say, motivation of behavior comes from experience. It's not about our past experience. The human behavior, what makes us to behave the way we are behaving is because you observe what the others are doing in that experience, you learn it, you can unlearn it, you can relearn it. And then at the same time, it's through conditioning. When you get conditioned to a situation, it becomes part of you and start behaving the same way. It's about the reinforcement. Sorry, here's spelling. Reinforcement is what are some of the rewards you are getting? Were they positive? Were they negative? How were they? That is what makes us to behave the way we are behaving. It's not about our past experiences. So the basic assumption about this theory is behavior is learned, it can be unlearned, and the people are the product of that environment. By the way, the environment in which you've been brought up is what is going to determine how you're going to behave. And this is what we say, we are the product and the producers of that environment. If you find a child who has been brought up in a slum area, we not behave the same way like a child who has been brought up in a well-to-do environment, or a child from urban and rural areas. They don't behave the same. So we are the product and the producers of that environment. The environment we interact with is the one which determines how someone is going to behave. And for him, for this behaviorist, they say human nature is mechanistic. Why? It observes, it can change, it can unlearn, it can relearn. So taking internal or mental states for this theory is useless. They don't value it. So I'll not go to the background of him, but Watson, who is the father of behavioral, he says, give me a dozen of infants. Give me so many children who are normal, who are healthy, and I put them in an environment I want, and that child is going to be what you want. I can train him to be a specialist, a doctor, and a lawyer, a thief, a robber, whatever. When I put them in that environment, they're going to be to learn from that environment, and they're going to be that. Then it's going to pick them randomly. So wherever the child is or a person is, it's going to determine how they're going to behave. So under this behavioral, I don't know, you remember the issue of the dog, the bell, and the food. This is now under conditioning. Remember we said behavior is conditioned. This dog, I know you know this story, whereby there was food, and the response was that when the dog used to see the food, it used to salivate. And then there before, the bell was a neutral stimulant, and there was no response. The bell was ringing, there was no food, the dog was not salivating. But now when it came to 3, during conditioning, there was that pairing. There was the bell, there was the food. So when the bell was ringing, the food was in there, then the dog started to salivate. So it reached a time after conditioning, the bell was being rung, the food was removed, but the dog continued to salivate. But after some time, the bell continued to ring, and the food was not there, the dog stopped to salivate because it came to learn when a bell rings, there's no food. You get conditioned to a behavior. So the bell, the food, it was salivating. The bell rang for a long time, there was no food. The dog now extinguished that extinction where it went back, where it was. That is classical conditioning. It was by Ivan Pavlov who came up with that experiment or that concept. The other concept, this is the one about the bell, the food, which I've just shown you in that picture. The other concept of operant conditioning is where Skinner came up. And he was, he did an experiment of a rat. And in this box, he put a button whereby, and there was a level of food. So when this rat was feeling hungry, it was going round in that box and it stepped on a button which was green and food was coming. So it rested there. Again, when it was feeling hungry, it went round, it stepped on it, it was getting food. So it kept on doing the same because it was getting a reward, which was positive. It kept on repeating the same. But again, in the same environment, he changed the buttons, whereby he put the red button and there was a level of food. When this rat was stepping on it, it was getting a shock. When it was hungry, it went around again, it got a shock. It decided not to go for that food. So that was a negative reinforcement. So those are the ones we say that what can make people behave the way they are behaving is the reinforcement. What is the reward? Is it negative or is it positive? That is going to determine how clients are going to behave. So I'll not talk about that. That is the negative one. So we also have another one, which is negative punishment. Punishment is not the same as negative. When we talk about punishment, you really want to eliminate, or maybe you want to weaken, or you want to eliminate that response. So at this time, you are giving that punishment. You are giving, it's like you want that behavior to be eliminated. And when you are giving this punishment, please give it immediately. For a punishment to be effective, then behavior has to be immediate punishment. Whatever someone has done which is wrong, don't wait, you keep on repeating, January you did this, February you did this, and maybe in May, and now all these ones you're bringing them together, that's why you're giving that punishment. Please, it has to be immediate and it has to be appropriate. And this is where we say that at times, you give a punishment which is commensurating to the offense that person has committed. So the intensity of punishment, they let it commensurate with the offense which that person has committed. Then the state of the mind of the person who is going to be punished, it has to be a normal state. Then the anger is revenge, which is being neutralized by the punishment. So please let's know how we are giving the punishment, and let's not use that anger. So under operant, that is what you have talked about. I'll not go through it. Then we have another concept under behavioral, which is the social learning. Under this social learning, we say that behavior is learned. You can learn it, you can unlearn it, and you can relearn it. That comes under the social learning, which was developed by Albert Bandura, who talked about this punishment. Who talked about the social learning. And under this social learning, this is mostly what we do. And like for him, he said, when you are using this social learning, there is, by the way, the social learning is about you observe what the others have learned or how the others are behaving, and you also do the same. You start putting that into practice. You develop that social context, yeah? And under this social learning, there are some key factors which can make us to learn the behavior. One, we have to pay that attention. If you have to learn a behavior using the social learning, you have to pay that attention. How do you pay that attention? Mentally, you have to concentrate, you focus on the concentration, you pay that attention. So I don't know whether as we are here, we are paying attention. If you are paying attention, then you need to retain whatever you have maybe had or maybe learned. And when you are paying this attention, you retain it. By retaining, it's like you encode that behavior in that memory, that you have that ability that you can be able to store that information, that you can be able to remember. And once you have that ability, then you need to you need to produce it. That is under production. When we talk under production, is whereby actually you can be able to perform that behavior which you observed. And by the way, for us to be able to perform that behavior, it depends how you're being motivated. So if you can be able to produce it, then you have to be motivated. When we talk about motivation, what are these forces which are going to drive you so that you can be able to produce what you retained after paying attention? And that is about the observational learning. So you have to be motivated. You have to feel like you have a good reason why you need to act. That is motivation. And what is this good reason which is going to make you? It depends with what you're benefiting from that. That is about the observational learning. So which are some of the techniques under the behavioral? Once you have known that these clients, they have learned a behavior which they have okay. What are some of these techniques which we are going to use when we are helping our clients? I don't know why my video is doing that. The techniques, now the intervention. Once you have known that the clients have been conditioned, there's that reinforcement, there's that maybe the rewards which they are being given. So how are we supposed to come in so that we can be able to help these clients? So we say, under that, we have techniques under behavioral. These techniques, we don't just pick them randomly, because there are some techniques which you can pick and your client can get a heart attack if you're going to use them. So you have to be very careful to know the technique you're going to use, and you have to know your client well so that you can know which technique can be able to work for them. So some of the techniques under the behavioral theory, so I think I'll just talk about 2 or 3 so that the others, maybe we can talk about them later if we have longer session. One of them is relaxation. Anytime you're going to help your client, and that is why we say, even wherever you are, we tell you, please relax. And then we tell you, breathe in, breathe out. And then you say, those things is our total. Those are for the nursery kids. But relaxation is very, very important. You let your clients to relax. They relax their mind so that they can be able now to start using these other techniques. So relaxation is a technique. Then we have systematic desensitization. If a client has fear of maybe snakes, I don't know the fear you have. You know, here when we're doing this, you have to talk about your fear so that now we see how can we be able to help you to overcome that fear. If you have the fear of snakes, the first thing I'll let you do is to relax. I'll put you in a relaxation mode. Then from there, I'll bring in a paper, small paper, which looks like a snake. I bring a longer paper. I bring a colored long paper. Then I bring a small snake. I bring a medium snake. Then from there, I can bring a longer snake. You do it systematically. And the other technique is flooding. When we talk about flooding, this is whereby you take someone to a snake park. He has fear of snakes. I'm just using as an example. You close their eyes. You tell them to relax. Then from there, you put them in where the snakes are, or maybe where the snake park is, they can be able to view those snakes. Then you open their eyes. Wanajikuta kwa hizo masnakes, longer one, bringing up the head, doing ABCD. That is why we said when you are using the flooding technique, you have to be very careful. You must have known your client, and you know that your client can be able to storm that. Otherwise, someone can get a heart attack. So the others, I'll not talk about them because of time. I hope you are able to get that. I'm looking at time. Is that okay? Those are some of the techniques which we need to use, like assertive training. You let your clients maybe to share about their views, they be themselves, they talk about what exactly they like. Can you be able to let them share their views or their opinion when they're also respecting themselves and they're respecting the others? We want them to be assertive, not to be aggressive. Okay? You know that those people are too polite. You know, you feel for them, but we want them to be able to come out and talk about their issues. So briefly, those are some of the techniques under behavioral theory. So when summary of it, it's associated with learning, it's associated with the environment, how it serves our observable behaviors, and it's a true science because it has done experiments. And by the way, that's why I usually ask, do we behave like rats and dogs? And imagine that we are behaving like rats and dogs because they did them on animals and now they can apply them on human beings. And they can be measurable. That is about behavioral theory. Question up to there? I'm just mentioning them because we need a lot. Like when we are doing psychoanalysis, it takes like 4 to 6 hours, but now we're only taking like 40 minutes. Any question up to there before I go to cognitive? Cognitive still is under behavioral. They're under the behaviorist. Yes? Aki, keeping quiet means? I know you are not really getting everything, but I hope you're understanding the time is short and we need to cover a lot. You see, this is why I told you at times when we're not using the silent scale well. I'm asking a question and I'm expecting an answer. I'm not giving participants enough time to process so that they can be able to respond. But we usually say that it's good when you become aware about it. So there we are. Can I continue? Can I continue?
Yes.
Yes, please.
Thank you, thank you. By the way, I've done so many trainings, but this is the worst training I've ever had. People here, they're not talking, they're not whatever, they're not participating. It's really frustrating. This is the worst training. That is on a light note. By the way, it's not the worst training. It's not, you're not the worst participants. By the way, you are trying,
Flora.
you are at
Sorry, sorry. Pole, is that the right word, Vera? I know exactly how you feel.
Okay.
We apologize humbly.
Okay, okay, let me come back and say, I really am not serious about it, but I'm using it for the purpose of learning. So you are not bad. I'm seeing some of you are trying to participate as much as you are at work, you are listening and you are multitasking. So what I wanted to say, what came to your mind when I said, this is the worst group I've ever met, who are not participating, who are not talking, who are not doing APCD. What is, by the way, you are not the worst one. I said this was just for the learning purposes. So Nilka is telling me there's no slip of tongue. Yes, there isn't, but let me get from you. What came to your mind when I said this is the worst group I've ever trained? Just be very genuine.
Can I go first?
Yes. Just be genuine. Whether it was good or bad, just put it.
Okay. My first thought was like, then just disconnect. We end the meeting. We end the webinar.
Thank you, Laura.
No, yes.
What came to your mind? Thank you so much. And I have apologized. You are not the worst class. I'm using it for the purpose of learning. I hope we are together. Please don't disconnect. Mnaweza anza kutoka one by one. But what came to your mind? Just be very genuine, like what Lorna has said. Siafunga aende hata tuelewi kitu anatuambia. Yes, what came to your mind? Yes.
You know, for my case, I knew I have participated. So in a way to draw others' attention, because it is not normal for you to have a class where you ask a question and nobody is responding. When you say any question, nobody is giving a question. So I'm sure you also wanted to break people from attending so much into other things and at least be able to get this. So I was confident that this is not the worst class.
Thank you, Joshua. Thank you, Joshua. Anyone else? One more before we move on. How rude can she be? Wow. Miriam wanasema, I was so rude. A student is as good as a teacher, so there's nothing you know more than me. You're judgmental. That is nice. That is nice. Why am I asking this? We're going to look at a theory we are calling cognitive behavioral theory. Cognitive behavioral theory, which we are going to look at, this theory, it has some assumptions that our thoughts, our feelings, they play fundamental role in our behaviors. By the way, when I said this is the worst class or the worst group I've ever met, what came to your thoughts and how did that make you feel? And you find that what we want to look at here, the goal of this theory is how we are supposed to take control of our interpretation. How did you interpret that? And how do you deal with the things in that environment? And mostly he says, that is, we call him Albert Ellis. He says, our emotions, they are more mainly from our beliefs, our evaluation, our interpretations, our reactions to situations. And this is how you are. When I say this is the worst class, what is your belief when someone tells you this is the worst class? How do you evaluate when someone is telling you that? How do you interpret that when someone tells you this is the worst class? How do you react to the normal situations which you interact with? Okay, so this is what makes us to behave the way we are behaving. So Albert Ellis is the founder of this theory. I'll not go his background, maybe when you go through the notes, but he's the one who was sickling throughout. And for him, he refused to be miserable. At age 40, was diabetic. You'll be able to read his background because of time, so I'll not be able to go there. So under this theory, Albert Ellis says, people are not disturbed with what happens to them. But like now, when I'm saying that this is the worst class, is not what is disturbing is going to disturb you. What disturbs you is how you reacted, your reaction, or the view you made out of what I said is what now disturbs you. Is it true that what I said is not an issue, but how you interpreted it, how you reacted to it, how the view you add towards it is what made you to be disturbed, not what I said. And for him, he said, our emotions, the ones which can make us to have problems, how you perceive things, yeah? The way we interpret our thoughts, our ideas, our events, and all the situations, that is what disturbs us. And if we always have or hold the irrational beliefs, like when I said, what came to your mind when I said that? Most people, all of you, most of us, we were irrational. It's only, is it Joshua, who was rational, who said, I know, or I knew I've been participating. So as I was participating, then I don't think I did anything wrong. I know I've been participating. So he remained being rational. But most of us, we went irrational. And that is, we started thinking negatively. We started thinking in a crooked way. We started thinking in that irrational way, whereby you feel like whatever I said is not making sense to me. It's me even worse. And in order clients to feel better, we have to help them so that they see the way they're supposed to be perceiving things, and they should perceive things in a rational way. You just tell yourself, are you the one who paid for me? Or are you the one who told me to join? Whether I'm participating or not, it's my choice. So, okay, let me not read the feedbacks. We need now to help clients. We need now to help you and me, so that instead of us, when we are being told such like statements, we don't go irrational. Can we start thinking rationally, and we look at other alternatives? So that is what Albert Ellis says, especially our beliefs. What is your belief? A feeling of being sure, an idea that a person holds to, being true. Like, okay, now we have been told we are not. So there's no need even to have joined these. So our belief, if your belief is rational, like the one for Joshua. Joshua, you're the one who said that you know you are participating. Yeah? If,
Yes,
for instance,
yes.
I'm just using this as an example. If like Joshua went rationally, and if you have a rational belief, that is when you think positively, you think in a straight way, then you'll be you'll be having what we call self-helping. But if you go negatively, you start thinking in a crooked way, these are irrational beliefs, then they will be so harming, self-harming. And this is what is going to cause you a lot of disturbance. So some of the concepts he looked at, that is Albert Ellis, he looked at the view of human nature. He looked at the view of human nature. How was he looking at the human beings? How was he looking at what is this which is causing this emotional disturbance? And for him, we felt like the way we view things, the way we look at things is the one which makes us to have those emotional disturbances. And he believed that all of us, we have the, okay, like we were born with the potential. We were born with that potential whereby we can either think rationally or we can think irrationally. So it is us to make the choice whether we are going to think in a rational way or in an irrational way. If you think in a rational way, this one is it's going to make you to be happy, it's going to make you to communicate with others well, it's going to bring that growth or self-actualization, is going to make you to be thinking and verbalizing whatever you are doing. But if you're going to make a choice to think in an irrational way, whereby he said, all of us, we have that choice where we want to start thinking or, and remember, we have a choice either to think in a rational way or in an irrational way. And this is where you also find, if you think in an irrational way, it will make you to have that intolerance. You'll start using that avoidance. You'll be avoiding things and you'll not be able to actualize, you'll not be able to grow. It's going to bring that self-destruction. It's going to bring that endless repetition that you really don't want to be the mistakes. You'll continue having those mistakes. So it is us who has a choice. And the choices have consequences. So we need to look back and we look at how we view things. The other concept he talked about is the view of human nature. View of emotional disturbance. When he was talking about view of emotional disturbance, I know there's this term we like using. I must, I should, I ought. Like now I say, I must get a grandchild by 2023. And then my children refuse to marry. How will that make me feel? I'll be so disturbed. I was telling myself, by 2023, I want to get a grandchild. 23-ish, 24-ish, and as Japata, I'll be so affected because I'm saying I must, I should, I ought. So the language we use, this language, there are demands and there are commands. And if such demands are not met, they're going to create a very disruptive feelings, and they're going to bring up those dysfunctional behaviors. So please, the language we use, we have to be very careful. Like when you are saying that now we are having a training on 22nd of May, whereby we are going to have like a 5 days training where we can have these experiences we share, and then you tell yourself, I must attend, I should attend, my employer has to pay. And then when it reaches the last minute, you are not getting it, you'll be very disturbed. Just tell yourself you're going to work on it. If your employer is going to pay for you, well and good. But let's not use them there. They must, they ought, they should. Then the other concept he talked about is the ABC. ABC. ABC is whereby he talked about there's that activating event, there's that belief, then there's that there are the consequences. Like now, when I'm just using the example I used, this is the worst class I've ever met. That is an activating event. What is your belief? When someone tells you this is the worst class, so you are failures, you are non-performers, so you are not good, so you are not. So what will be the consequences? You will start now becoming emotional. You'll have that anxiety. It can take you to depression. Unajiambia sitaingia ingine ya online. And that is if you are irrational. If you are rational, you'll not be happy, or you are not happy when I say that, but you did your best, like what Joshua did. Me, by the way, I did my best. I participated, so I don't think I can do more than what I've done here. So you'll feel disappointed, but you'll be confident that you did your best. So when we talk about ABC, is about what are your beliefs? Are you going to be rational? And if you're irrational from your beliefs, then they're going to bring those consequences. I could have given many examples, even in the workplaces, how we look at things. And this is where you find someone is being told, you are a prostitute. What? In a miniskirt? At Koinange at night? And you are calling me? Fight inatokea. If someone calls you that and you tell yourself, no, I know I'm not, and I know myself, and I cannot be able to do that, it will not affect you. But when you go irrationally, it's going to affect you. So some of the techniques so those concepts, by the way, we need to go into detail so that we understand them and how they work. So don't tell yourself, I must be married. Umeweka your goals for 2023. I must be married by the end of this year. Alafu hata kuna ule anakuambia, can you marry me? No one is coming across, you'll be affected. Just tell yourself, you're right. God is the person who is going to give me, but don't stay in the house you get for God to give you. You have also to be participating. Mungu anasaidia mwenye anajisaidia. So don't put things to be must or whatever. Now, when you are a cognitive therapist and you are using the techniques of cognitive, please, one of them, we need to help our clients so that they can be able to cognitively restructure their thoughts. Can they be able to start looking at things in a different way? Instead of them thinking in a negative way, they start looking at things in a positive way. Like if someone asks you, is there anything, like I used to say, me, I work for the government. Hakuna kitu, there's nothing, there's no money, and I'm not retired being here. I've been here for more than 25 years, and I have very few years to go home. And I used to say I'll not be there. So I used to talk negative, until someone asked me, is there anything positive you can talk about your employer? Alafu nikakaa chini nikaambia, yes, my salary is small, but by the way, it has helped me to take loans. I've educated my children. I've managed to have a home with this small salary. So there's something now. I've cognitively changed my thoughts and I've started talking positively. So you should not only be talking negatively. Then we have the cognitive homework. You give your clients some assignments, they go and do, they come and they share. So in that sense, we say that even in therapy, you can give your clients some assignment. When they come back, you can ask them, where are we going to start today? They can tell you, you gave me an homework, this is what I'm going to talk about. They can even don't talk about that assignment. That tells you they never did it. Please don't push them, because if they hear that you're giving them assignments and you're going to ask for them, they might not come back to you. Thought stopping is whereby a client is talking, umemwekea rubber band at the wrist here, and as they are talking and they start talking things which are not making sense, things which are negative, you just pull that, you release it. Or when a client is talking, you bang the table and you ask them if there's anything positive they can talk about whatever they are talking. If they're going to irrational, if they're talking negatively, if they're going in a crooked way, so that they start reversing and they start looking at things in a positive way. Yuma, the one I was telling you that let's not be too serious with what we are doing. Let's not take life too serious, but let's try to bring in that fun, bring in that laughter. If you laugh, by the way, you're adding to your lifespan. So let's not be too serious. If you're going to be too serious, you're reducing your lifespan. Eh? So, weka kicheko kidogo, or not go through the others. So, I don't know whether I'll go through all this, or do I go to mental health? What do you think? You have like 45 minutes. Do I go to mental health, or I just mention about the humanistic theory, which is the third force theory? Then from there, I'll be able to look at mental health, maybe for 10 minutes or so. Give me the way forward.
You can briefly touch on the humanistic as we proceed.
Okay. Maybe briefly mention, some are saying mental health. Let me just mention about the third force theory, then I can be able to go to mental health. So,
Mwalimu.
Yes.
Kindly, I was asking if you have an employee, for example, who has come to you for assistance as the HR, and he or she has come while too wild, and is there asking for solutions, asking for questions that you cannot be able to assist at that time. What tactics can you use to cool down such an employee so that you are able to have a cool conversation or a calm conversation about what is happening to him or her?
What do you think you can do? Thank you so much for that. What do you think you can do to Juliana's concern? An employee has come to you, he has an issue. How do you calm him down? How can you assist that client? Remember, this is talk therapy. Yes, Lorna.
I'm thinking if an employee comes, because if they come at that, they're very emotional at that point. They're not thinking straight, and probably you are the only person who can see that. The only thing that you can't talk anything rational is just to calm them down, give them a few minutes to calm down, and maybe talk to them after them calming down, because talking to an irrational person can also be rub off of you at the end of that session. Yeah.
Mwalimu, an example that I'm saying, for example, if someone comes with a weapon and they are really on you and you are the two of you, the tactics that you can use are which one?
Oh, okay. Is it that you are in a session, or he or she has come to your office? Are you in a session with this client?
No. Has just come into your office like that, with that weapon, and making noise here and there, shouting, talking very harshly, and even very aggressively.
Okay.
In such a scenario, how do you handle such a person? And we're the two of you at that time.
I know this is your environment, you know it better. And this is a staff who has come to you. It's not that he had come for a session. That's why we say when we are having a session with our clients, you have an environment where you're going to talk with your client. Please close your door and don't lock your door. You know, there's a difference between the two. You close your door, but you don't lock the door. Am I communicating? And if that is what has happened, and this is your organization, you know it better, you know how to handle it using your security, because that is not a counseling session. But when it's a counseling session, please don't lock your door, just close it so that in case you need to be given assistance, someone can be able to get that access. But since I started therapy, I've never come across to a client who is becoming wild, but we take precautions. So you need to take care of yourself also. I don't know whether I've responded. You have to, because your life is also at stake. You have to take control of that, because it's not a counseling session. So you have to go for your safety too.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, let me look at humanistic briefly. And when we talk about the humanistic now, they're the ones who have disagreed with the psychoanalysts or the psychoanalysts and the behaviorists. of what they were talking about. And for them, the humanistic, they emphasized that the clients have the innate potential. They have within them, they have potential. And they are always driving towards achieving their goals. They have that self-actualization. And this theory, we are going to look at person-centered. Remember, under humanistic, when we are talking about humanistic, just I want to talk generally about it, because you find that mostly what we are going to look at, I might not go into detail. When we talk about humanistic, generally, someone is present functioning is most significant. Like no matter what happened to you, so many times or so many years down the line, we want to know how you're functioning now. And the humanistic, they emphasize more on the here and now. Whether it is so many years down the line about the past, talk about it, we get to know how it is making you feel as per the here and now. Whether it is something you are thinking about the future, it has not come, you are still struggling with it, you're working towards it and you have not achieved it, how does it make you to feel as per the here and now? And this theory, it emphasizes on clients taking personal responsibility. Like now, I'm asking, are you really getting what I'm saying? And then we say, we are understanding. No, you say, I'm understanding. Each person needs to take the personal responsibility in whichever actions they are going to take. That is now what humanistic do. They want every person, because they know every individual has potential, and they need to take that responsibility to take up their actions. And these actions, regardless whether it is going to be an action which is going to be positive or negative. You know, you can take an action equal negative. You can take an action equal positive. Regardless of which action they are going to take, they need to take responsibility. That's why we say, if you can be able to let the clients decide on what they're going to do, yours is just to explore more so that they can be able to understand whether the option they are taking is going to work for them. Then even if it backfires, they not feel bad. But if it backfires, they really blame you. So the humanistic, they're so much concerned about the present functioning. They're much concerned about the here and now. They're also concerned on how clients need to be helped so that they take that responsibility, whether it's going to be positive or negative. So the founder of this theory is Carl Rogers. And under this, remember Carl Rogers was brought up in a Christian perspective. Brought up in Christianity, the Bible, in the morning you pray, lunchtime you're praying, supper, after noon you're having the Bible study. When he got a chance, he went out. He didn't want to study anything which was relating to spiritual. So he ran away, he studied agriculture, but later, home is always best. He went back to the seminary where he studied all this. So for him, he believed that people's behavior originated from the past. That's what I've just said. And he refuted the approach the behaviorists were talking about. And here, people are disturbed by what is happening to them in the here and now. Yes, Rose. Rose, can you see your hand up? Okay. He also believed that people have that actualizing tendency. Under this is where we also look at the Abraham hierarchy of needs. I know you have come across that, that pyramid, where we talk about it, where clients also want to actualize. And people, he believes people have the capacity to solve their own problems. And that is why we say, when clients come to us under humanistic, under person-centered, you should not give them solutions. You should not tell them what they're going to do. They have the capacity to solve their own problems. Yours, when you are a person-centered therapist, yours is to be without a role. You be behind the client and the client has to lead. Yours is just to follow. And he called it the non-directive approach. And for him, he believed that people should not be directed. Many psychologists did criticize him, but he called this theory a client-centered because the client who knows it all. But it gained that popularity during the World War II. And this is where he said that one thing we need to do with our clients, I'll just look at the assumption, then I'll go to the techniques. People are essentially trustworthy and good. If you look at that employee, I know there are some people you work with and you ask yourself, God, how am I going to work with this employee? How did he get a job here? He's there or she's there. Just when you're dealing with such like people, don't get worked out. Just tell yourself, this person is good. Trust that this person is going to change. And remember, people have vast potential in understanding themselves and solving their problems, and people are capable of self-growth if they are involved in the therapeutic relationship. People have issues, but if you're going to engage them, you're going to trust them, you're going to tell yourself this one is a good person, then you can be able to help that client. Your role is just to listen, to reflect, and you restate what your client has said. Let's not be judgmental, and the interpretation of the words of the client is what matters, how you're going to interpret that. I'm going very fast under this. So I'll not go through the objectives again. Let me go to the concepts. Maybe I'll talk about one or two. And one of the concepts of the human nature, the fear of human nature. Carl Rogers says that when clients come to us, they have the potential. You only need to create that conducive environment. And these clients, when they come to us because they are stuck. They know what they want to do, but they don't want to take that responsibility. They have gotten stuck. So yours is to help them so that they can be able to be unstuck from where they have gotten stuck so that they move on. So another concept is about the organismic self. Organismic self, when we talk about it, when we have issues, there's that time you have an issue, you listen to yourself, you tell yourself, this is what I need to do. Like yesterday, by the way, I was working on this laptop. I slept very late and I was like, I need to have a video. I don't know what to do. And then I was like, I need to sit down. I try to. And only I came to learn is one button, which was pressed here, which was making the video, which was not working. Then I told myself, I'm going to try. Then in Nikajambia, why should I struggle? I want to call someone to assist me. So the first thing which I was telling myself, I have to sit down. I try to work on it. I see what is this which is making the video not to work. So when I decided to sit down and go through it, that is my organismic self. There's that first thing you tell yourself before now you go out there to ask other people to assist you. Even when you have an issue with that colleague of yours, with that boss, with that spouse, there's something you tell yourself that this is what I want to do. But unajambia no. You know, we say that we don't, you have heard me saying all the time, please let's trust ourselves. Here, we are not trusting ourselves. Then now we go out there to ask for other people's opinion. That is now when you're asking the other people's views, opinion, it brings in the self-concept, which we are not going to talk about it now. The organismic self are those first thoughts or feelings which you express and whatever you tell yourself before it gets contaminated with the other people's views. Like the time I got married, and you know, the first few years of marriage, that's what we learn in family and marriage. The first few years of marriage, mukona hiyo conflict, eh? There's that conflict. So I used to be told, Flora, pack and go. They are telling me to pack and go because this man is not good. I used to pack and go. Akikuja na nitafuta, he talks to me nicely, again we come back because niliambiwa. And again, another time comes, again, you know, there's that we call placating. Eh? He tells you this, again you pack and go because they're telling you, please pack and go. What are you still doing in that marriage? Until one day, I made a decision. I'm the one to pack and go. No one is going to tell me to stay in that marriage. I decided, I just woke up and I decided to go and I never went with anything. When I went out there, I stayed for some time, then he came back, we sorted out and I made a decision to go back. Si kuambiwa na mtu that go back. So that was my organismic self. That's what I felt like was to work for me. So even if I was to walk out, even if I walked out and I was having some challenges, I took that responsibility. But when I was walking out, when they were telling me, I was blaming them. Now you're not supporting me. No one is there for me. Afadhali nirudi huko so that I can be able to be going through whatever I'm going through. Organismic self is what you're telling yourself and you do it. But now when you start relying on other people's views and opinion, it gets contaminated. Then that is when you are having the self-concept, which I'm not going to talk about now. Then we have the actualizing tenders. We're supposed to look at the Abraham hierarchy of needs. Those are the concepts. Then the techniques for this theory, very few. 3. Remember I talked about them when we are looking at the core conditions as attitudes. We looked at them as skills, and now we are looking at them as techniques. The core conditions of empathy, unconditional positive regard, and genuineness. Those are the ones we use when we are using the person-centered theory. Lastly, I'm just looking at time. Lastly, we have the Gestalt theory. The Gestalt theory is whereby it says, this is Fritz Perls, who says that I'm not in this world to live up to other people's expectation. I'm not living for other people's expectation. Nor do I feel that the world must live to my expectation. So don't feel like the world is supposed to live to expectation, or you need to live to the expectation of other people. Gestalt means, when we talk about Gestalt, is that whole, that integration, that pattern. For Gestalt, what it says, wants to help clients to remain whole. Like now, I know it's almost time and you're getting worked up. You have not covered the mental health. The time is not there. When you start having those thoughts, you are now split. We say that, how do we bring the split together? And remember, when we are not whole, have you seen someone, you sit with someone, he's here, but physically he's here, mentally he has gone so far. He has walked so far. So you find that client is already split. And that is why we say that here, he believed also that people have the capacity to be good or to be bad. So it's us to make a choice. If you want to be good, we can be good. If you want to be bad, we can be bad. So he said that human beings, they are in a neutral mode. You can decide, Flora today is good. When you come next time, she can decide to be bad. So it is us who makes a choice, and they have the capacity to be helped. I'm going very fast because of that. I just want to go to the concepts of this. I don't know which one to talk about and which one not to. Like I said, the wholeness, here you find clients are split. They are not whole, they're not complete, whereby maybe you are splitting thoughts, you are splitting the way you are behaving in those emotions or whatever. So you are not whole. That's why you find when someone is talking and he has closed his hands, or is fidgeting their feet, or is scratching his head, that person is not complete. Then let me talk about the here and now. This is what I've just mentioned under the Gestalt when I was giving the brief. I say that when you talk about the here and now, clients need to talk about the issues they have gone through, or they are planning, maybe they're thinking about, let them talk about how they are feeling as per the here and now. When we talk about unfinished business, these are the issues which we have which are not resolved. You have not dealt with them, whereby we like using the avoidance. Avoidance is whereby you don't want to be in contact with the environment or with that person who has made you to go through the issue. Then we have the layers of neurosis. This one, when you go through it in detail, is like you are peeling an onion. The one which is you are peeling the outer layers. You want to go deeper. As you go deeper, you start now shedding the tears. The same way when clients come to us, they are like those layers of neurosis which needs to be peeled, but you have to give your client that trust so that they can be able to open up and talk about the issues. And when clients are talking, please be observing their energy blocks. Someone can talk and they're fidgeting. Someone can talk and they're banging. Someone can talk and the way they're using their expressions, or they start fidgeting their feet. Those are things you need to observe and communicate a lot. The techniques under this, we have that dialogue. Let them talk, let them share when you're in that session. Let them talk about this unfinished issues, the issues which are not resolved, let them share. Then that exaggeration, if a client is talking and they're banging the table, they're using their fist, they're fidgeting their feet, you tell them to exaggerate that expression. Then we have the focus of language. This way you let your client, they own it up, they talk about the I, and they take that responsibility. Then we have an empty chair technique, this whereby if you have unfinished business with Flora, the way she had made you to sit here for 3 hours and you're not getting anything, just don't worry. Have to sit, you have your seat where you're sitting and you put Flora's seat there and she's not there with you. Talk to her, tell her whatever you want to tell her. I wish you had not even come to my presence. And the way you don't even know how to train, I wish I did. And you talk, whether positive or negative, you vent out that anger. Then you change the role. You sit that seat where Flora, maybe imagine she's sitting, and you talk now to yourself. You are responding to yourself. How do you think Flora could have responded to you? We like doing this in practicum, especially any issue you have which is not resolved. It will be able to help you to work on it. That is about the empty chair technique. So this one, it needs to be role played, you practice it. And by the way, it's very helpful. If you have a boss who is giving you issues, don't worry. Just put him there. Wacha kugombana na yeye. Mutukane there, call him all the names, tell him whatever you want to tell him, then change the roles, sit on that seat. Imagine how he could have responded to you and you talk about it. The value exercise, we're not going to look at it now. The common challenges, we not look at it now. Wow, ethics we have not covered. So do I talk about ethics or do I go to mental health for the 25 minutes which are remaining? Give me the way forward. Do I talk about ethics or I talk about mental health briefly? Let's agree on the way forward.
Health.
Mental health.
Mental health.
Mental health. Mm-hmm. You agree we talk about mental health? Someone is talking about ethical principles, mental health. Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay, someone is asking what is there on 22nd. Milka, I'll be able to address that before we part ways. We have a longer sessions, many sessions for this counseling so that you can really be certified counselor at workplace. Because you see, we are not doing much. We are just mentioning. So let me go to mental health, and I'm just going to talk about it briefly. Because ethics, by the way, this is what guides you so that you know how you're supposed to handle your clients. You're not supposed to harm your clients. You know, you are supposed to help your clients. They have to benefit from that. And then you also need to treat all clients fairly. You should not favor some clients. Those are some of the principles which governs us when you're taking care of our client. Okay. Remember, when we are doing the definition of counseling, I asked you whether you people, you are normal or you are not normal. And we say that these mental health issues at the workplace, it's really a concern. And we are working with people who are having this mental health. And it's like we don't take it seriously. And some people have found it very difficult to talk about the issue of mental health. How do you feel about yourself? These are questions I just want you to, when I'm asking them, reflect back and get to know how you're feeling. If we had time, we could have shared. So how are you feeling about yourself? Do you feel comfortable being with other people? Are you able to meet your life demands? These are some of the things we need to be asking ourselves so that we talk about the mental health. If you have those the life demands, how are you able to respond to them? How do you relate with other people? When we talk about mental health, just being psychologically well. And when you are psychologically well, there's that absence of mental illness. You are coping with it, you are okay. And it's the way we think. How do you think? How do you feel? What is your ability to deal with the ups and downs? Like we are talking about those demands. Are you able to deal with them? And this is when you talk about a person who is mentally health, is a state of function, the functioning level. Is it satisfactory? Your emotional level, your behavioral adjustment, how is it? So those are the ones we talk about, the mental health. And mental health is something we all have. We have a sense of purpose and direction. And if you have it, okay, if you have it, let me not go to the messages now. If you have that sense of purpose, you have a reason why you have to live, you have what you want to do, then you are mentally healthy. You have that energy to do things which you want to do. You want to be all over. You want to be in class, you want to be at work, you are multitasking, you're doing everything, and those things you like them. You have that ability to deal with the challenges which happens in our daily lives. All of us, we have challenges, and that's why I told you, when you have challenges, you have these stressful situations. It's normal. It's okay. It becomes okay if you're able to resolve those issues, which you are going through. So, and this one, it makes most of us, because we have the potential, you can be able to cope with what life throws to you. No matter what, like this season, everything is tough. Not economy, not the climate, not whatever, everything is there, but you are able to move on and manage. Then we say you are mentally healthy on this. When we say that a person is mentally healthy, when mentally healthy, so we have just looked at this. When you feel well, you think well, you act well, we realize our potential, we are able to cope with the normal stresses of life. And remember, when we have stress, we need to know how to manage that stress. If you're not able to manage that stress, it's going to take you to distress. And if it's going to take you to distress, now you're going to have what we call post-traumatic stress disorder, which is going to be a mental issue. So you can work, you are productive, and you are fruitful, and you can contribute to the community. You can do something which people can be able to appreciate. And everyone has a mental health, and your mental health does not always stay the same. It keeps on changing, fluctuating, because of what is thrown to your life, because of the demands you're meeting in your life. It can fluctuate as circumstances change. So at times you are high, sometimes you are low. So not that you will always be there without having these mental issues. As you move through different stages in life, you can also get these mental issues. When you get those awards, you're feeling good, whichever. Suppose your child comes to you and asks you, what is mental illness? What will you say? Suppose the child comes to you, or I hear people having mental issues. What is this mental illness? What will you tell them? Yes? What is mental illness? Kama mjui sema mjui, we'll move on, because I have only 15 minutes. What is mental illness? Utaambia mtoto nini? Hello? Okay.
Mental illness is a condition that deters you from doing your things, your daily operations normally.
Thank you. Mental health? Mental illness, sorry, mental illness? Okay. And that is what I said, all of us, we have this. I'll just give you a scenario, a feedback. Like you have a swimming pool. When you're going to swim, in that situation, some are going to be happy, especially the ones who know how to swim, and some are going to be unhappy because they're going to have that fear of swimming. But everyone has to navigate in this water. And there are some who can easily swim. The ones who can easily swim are the ones who are happy and they are mentally healthy because they know it. And there are some who will drown or who are not happy. These are the people who are having that mental illness. I'm just relating it to that mental illness and to this scenario of the swimming pool. But remember, we have said everyone has to navigate this water, whether you know how to swim or you don't know how to swim. How can we support everyone so that they can all swim in these waters? We need to teach them. We need to give them floaters. Like when we talk about floaters, the people are not able, the people are sick, we need to give them the medication. And all of us, whether we are still going there, we say these circumstances, they are not permanent. They keep on changing. So regardless if you are a good swimmer, one is taught on how they are supposed to use those floaters so that they can be able to reach the end. All of us, we have to reach that end. So when we are talking about this, it's like all of us, we are in that state. But as we are going there, whether we are mentally ill or not, we have to be helped so that we can move in this situation. So when we talk about mental illness, it's also called the mental health disorder. What has happened? Mental health disorder. It also refers to, it's a condition, like what Joshua has just said. It's a condition. And this condition, the disorder, it affects your mood, it affects your thinking, it affects the way you're interacting with other people's feelings or the way they are behaving. So this condition, it can also cause a serious disorder. Because if you're not able to think in a good way, or you're not, maybe your moods, you're having those mood swings, how are you going to be with other people? So many people with mental illness do not want to talk about it. Why? Because there's that stigma. People have stigma, they don't want to talk about it. So people should not be ashamed because of the mental illness. And but when someone has a condition of diabetes, someone has heart problem, someone has pressure, we can easily talk about them. But when we have mental illness, no one wants to be associated with that. So mental health condition can be managed, and it can be managed through the medication, through the floaters we talked about. So this medication can be able to be used so that it can be able to manage this person. And that is why we have the psychiatrists who are going to help us on how we are going to manage this condition. And mental health does not discriminate. We need not to discriminate. And because of this is why we need to look at our workplaces. Please, let's not bring in the discrimination, especially when you get to know a person has that mental condition. And remember, this mental issue, it affects anyone, regardless of age, of status, of gender, or whatever. So all of us, we are potential clients who can have the mental issue. And that is what we need to be sharing with our staff, especially because we need to educate people so that if someone has this issue, they can see how it is supposed to be handled. Because when we talk about these mental issues, if you look at this, this was one of the information we got from the newspaper. If just go even after this, or if you're in the office, if you are around 4, count 1, 2, 3, 4. So among the 4 of you, 1 of you has a mental condition. This is the research which was done. This was in Kenya. 1 in 4 Kenyans is likely to suffer from a mental disorder at some point in their lives. So imagine when you are the 4 of you, Katienu, whom do you think has this mental issue? So that is a very high percentage. And if you see the Kenyans, we have like 6 of them, 5 in 6 Kenyans with mental illness do not receive treatment. These people are having mental issues. Most of them, they don't go to seek medication or they don't go for treatment. Why? Because they fear the issue of stigma. They don't want to talk about it. They feel uncomfortable. So you find that people who commit suicide, they are the ones who are depressed at the point of their death. So you find that 4 in 5. 4 in 5 means how many are committing suicide? 4 in 5? the 5 people who have mental illness, 4 of them commit suicide? Is that what it is saying? Hello? 4 in 5 means? Hello? Umepotea?
Hello?
Yes?
It means among those 5 people who committed suicide, 4 of them were depressed at that time.
Okay. So you can see, and there's a time you saw so many youths were committing suicide. So you find 2 positions of the suicide in the leading case of death among the youths. And I know this one, you saw how it was happening. So you find that when we talk about the issue of mental health, it is so much, but we are not really taking seriously about this issue of mental health. So the causes of this, what is making Kenya's mental health problem is caused by depression, which we are going to look at some of these causes of what is making people to commit suicide. So please just know that this is an issue, only that people don't want to talk about it. So it is you as HRs who can also be able to enlighten people on this issue of mental health. Some of the causes of mental health, I'll just pick a few. It can be the causes of mental health, they are so complicated. You cannot say that this is the one which causes one to have mental health. The exact cause of most of the mental illnesses, it's unknown. You cannot say that this is, it is like when you're using this rope, you can't know where it has started and where it's ending. You can't know the end, you can't know the start. So that is how the mental health causes can be able to be traced. They cannot really be able. So some of the causes of mental health, they can be genetic. That's why you find in some of the families, they were being told, just ask in that family if there are people who commit suicide, because they say you can be able to inherit. So they say the causes can be the genetic issues. You have those genes that you're going to, that family is the one which commits suicide. There's those social factors which can also make people, the social factors, what you're going through, the experiences you're going through, the life experiences, the relationship which you are going through, whether people are there to support you, the life events, the way they're happening, the lifestyles you have chosen. I'm just mentioning them just because of that time. And you can talk about the biological factors, which can also be the cause. This is the abnormal functioning of the nerve cells, circuits, like the way the nerves are supposed to work. That is when we also talk about genetic. If you have that infection, if maybe you had the brain defect or injury, or maybe during the time a child was being born, this child was damaged. When some are using also substance abuse, by the way, that's where you find most people are using substances, can also be able to make them, to affect their nerves, and it can make them to have the mental illness. The poor nutrition. Hapo ni daktari wanataka tuambie how is this poor nutrition. I wish we had time so that we discuss about them. The other causes of mental health is like emotional issues. If when you talk about emotional, how you are being treated and how you are reacting to it, and these people are hurting you while making you, the fear which usual people have, the hurt, that pain, the guiltness you have with those emotions can make someone, and when we talk about those emotions, we are talking about those intense emotions. There are 4 strong emotions which we always look at it. The physical issues, sexual abuse, earlier losses which someone has gone through, poor ability to relate with the others, when you're being neglected, no one is there for you, severe trauma suffered from childhood experiences. When you are being brought up, what are some of these experiences you went through which affected you, which again can be able to affect you psychologically? Those are some of the causes. And we said we really don't have the specific cause of mental health. It's a combination. It's a combination of all this. And some of the examples of those mental illnesses, we have depression, anxiety disorder, eating disorder, bipolar disorder. You know, there are so many. When we talk about bipolar disorder, this is where we have the mood swings. Today, maybe in the morning, someone is happy. When you go in the afternoon, someone is so low. So there's that swings, swing moods. They swing, they change from this one to this one. So we also have the social anxiety disorder where people have that fear. Remember, we talked about anxiety. It can be reality anxiety, neurotic anxiety, moral anxiety. Which one is this, which can make them to have that mental disorder? Obsessive compulsive, this is also where we talk about when someone does something repeatedly. Let's say, for example, this person was involved in an accident, or there were thieves who came to their house and they robbed their house and they took everything. So you find this person, when he goes to sleep, he'll keep on checking the door. You know, you go and check the door. Was this door closed? You go and find that it was locked. Yes, you go to sleep. But the person who has OCD, we call it obsessive compulsive disorder, they'll keep on checking that door. They'll keep on repeating that one until they get exhausted. So this one becomes a disorder because they're going to do it repeatedly. Or if they had an accident and they touched maybe the blood, they'll keep on washing their hands all the time. They go and they feel like it's not clean. They go back again, they go to, you do it until you get so disturbed. So you know this person has those mental illnesses, and these are some of the types. For some of the symptoms, there are so many, and we say that all of us, we feel sad, but for how long do you feel sad? Okay, but when it takes longer, now you know you have the mental illness. We feel sad, but for a short while, then we move on. But when it takes that longer period, then you know this is a mental issue. So mental illness can vary depending on the disorder, circumstances, and other factors. Mental health illness, it affects the emotions. That's what we said. It affects the way we think. It affects the way we behave, all those ones. And these examples, they also include like the feeling of sadness, feeling sad, but it's long. What makes the difference is the length, the period, which is long. And at times you find that there's that confusion of thinking, and it reduces their ability to concentrate. Someone cannot be able to concentrate. Like now, if we had a person who had a mental illness cannot be able to sit for these hours so that they can be able to listen, or we share what we are learning here. And they have that excessive worries. We worry, we have fears, we have that guiltness, but for them it's excess. So everything here is excess, extreme mood changes, highs and lows. That is what we need, which can make you have the difference. So at times you might find someone in your office who is behaving like this. Please, let's be assessing them, how they were and how they're behaving this time. They can withdraw from friends or from the activities which they loved so much. There are some people who had some interest or had some hobbies, but now they're no longer having interest towards that. There's that tiredness, low energy, problems in sleeping. There are some who can lack sleep for even 3 to 4 days without sleeping. So you'll know this person has an issue, because I've also experienced on the same way. I had a relative who was having those bipolar, and she was reaching somewhere, she was not having sleep. For 3 or 4 days, she was not closing her eyes. Daytime, mchana, usiku, mchana, usiku. She was just there. So you know this person has a mental illness. They can also be able to have that inability to cope with the daily problems or stress. And we say that when you have stress it jokes your mind, it makes you start thinking so that you can be able to respond to those demands. But when you're having a mental illness, you are not concerned about it. You cannot be able to deal with those issues. You have trouble in understanding or relating to situations or with other people. That is why I was asking you, how do you relate with the others? Are you comfortable when you are with other people? But you find the person who has mental illness, they want just to be alone. They eat too much or they eat too little. They pull away from people, usually even the activities they loved. They have that low energy, and they have those unexplained aches and pains. They also feel so helpless and so hopeless. What can I do? can't even explain how I'm feeling. I feel so helpless. I feel so hopeless. I feel I'm not significant. I don't add any value here. So the symptoms are many. This way you find people now going to go to use the drugs or the substances, and they use them more than usual. And remember, everything here is extreme, is excess, is, yes, we isolate ourselves, but you're isolating yourself from people for so long time. So those are some of the symptoms which we need to be looking. There are so many symptoms which can be able to make you know that this person has a mental illness. And like these people, they like also talking about, they have those we call suicidal thinking. And remember, a person who keeps on talking about they will commit suicide or they keep on attempting, na mwisho yake, at the end of it, they come and succeed. So please, there are some of these symptoms which we need to know, so that, and they can be so hostile, they can be so violent, they can have that excessive anger. So all these, look at the extremes, those are some of the signs. Let's see how we are supposed to maintain a positive health, maintain a positive, someone to be healthy. They can be able to get a professional help. They can go for professional help, so that they can be able to see these psychiatrists who can be able to assess them, who can be able to assist them. They can also be helped to connect with others who are going through those issues, and they be with other people. They should not be alone. They should also be helped to have that positive thinking. They stay positive, because remember, they are having that helplessness, hopelessness. They need to be helped into that. They need also to be getting physically active. They help others, helping others. They try to get that enough sleep, and they're only going to get that enough sleep if they're going to seek this professional help, that they can be given that medication which can help them to sleep, develop their coping skills on how they're going to manage to live in that. So these are the ones you're talking about, those dimensions of good health. Emotional, that's emotionally coping effectively with life and creating satisfying relationship. Let's enter into relationships which are going to help us, and we feel that we are being assisted and we are getting that happiness we need. The environment in which we live, or these people live, it has to be a good health environment which we need to occupy, which is going to support our well-being. Financial satisfaction with current and future financial situations. This is where we need to work on it, and we adjust. Like now we have an issue. This way you'll find that people can be able to have this mental illness. But we usually say be contented with what you have. You plan and you live to your limit. Kama ni sukuma, just eat sukuma and you will be happy. Let's not be looking at ourselves that we want to be with the others. Let's find that satisfaction in the current and financial situation, future financial situations. So let's not get worked up. Intellectual, recognize creative abilities, because we say that at times when a person had that interest, had some knowledge, had that passion to do work, but when they become mentally ill, they don't have that interest anymore. But we say here, let's try to recognize those creative activities which they can be engaged in, and find ways also to expand their skills or knowledge which they have. Occupational, personal satisfaction and enrichment from one's work. And that is why we say, let people do what they love. What can be able to give them that satisfaction? Recognize the need of physical activity, healthful, and sleep. These are things we need always to be doing so that we can be able to have that healthy life. Social, we also try to develop that sense of connection, belonging. And when we talk about belonging, like when we be looking at the hierarchy of needs, whereby people need to feel that they belong, they are loved. Then when you feel that, you'll move to the next ladder. So the same way, let's also always feel that we belong. We can also participate. We have people who are there for us. Those are the support systems which can be able to help us to have that mental health. Spiritual. If going to church and praying and doing whatever they're doing, let people do that. expanding a sense of purpose and meaningful in life. If that is what gives them hope, encourage them to go for that, encourage them to go for their religion or their spiritual perspective, address it so that they can be able to get that satisfaction. When we talk about these mental health problems, can take many forms. And this is what we have just talked about, so I'll not repeat it. And people feel very uncomfortable talking about mental health. The reason is for stigma. We have also talked about it. And people with mental illnesses can be stereotyped and discriminated against that. So us as HR, we need to we work on that so that we don't let people to be discriminated even at the workplace. We want to believe that that could never be me. So let's not think that I'll never have a mental illness. So for some people, the impact of stigma is worse than even the illness they are going through. So this is where we need to talk about this issue of mental illness. The psychiatrists are aware about this because at times it affects every sphere of our work. It makes people reluctant to admit that they're having this mental illness. It's not easy for people to admit. That's what we have just talked about. And that is why you saw people are mentally ill, but very few can be able to go for treatment and support. So we need, as HR, we need to work on how to reduce this stigma and discrimination, and we need better education. Teach people the facts about mental health and work on those myths. In conclusion, all organizations say routinely that people are our greatest asset. That is what you are saying. That's why we changed from personnel management to human resource management, because they realized people are our greatest asset. Yet very few practice what they preach, let alone truly believe it. Like we are saying, we want to help people who are having mental health. We will be able to do that. I've just mentioned, we have not gone into details. We have not shared any personal experiences which we have gone through, because I know we have so many of them, so that you can get to know that this person has a mental illness. And what did you do? How did that person manage? And how are they surviving? Those are the experiences we need to share when we are working together. So today, I was just mentioning about them. Any question, any contribution on the same?
Maybe Flora, if you can hear me, I can mention, I can mention something about mental illness and at the workplace mostly. And as HR and how you get to deal with employees who have maybe different things happening in their personal lives that's affecting their performance mostly. So as HR trying to work around that, it can seem like you're getting too much into the employees' personal lives, and because you really want to improve on their performance, or you really want to address their performance. So I know that you only touched about this, but I wish it could be something that we could go deeper into it in terms of now how mental illness affects performance at work, and how we as HR can be well equipped to address that, because at most of the time people come to you for answers, and here you are, maybe even you trying to understand the whole situation. So yeah, I think that's what I can add on to this.
Thank you. Yes, thank you, Lorna, for that. And that's why I said we wanted to have time so that we share these experiences, what we have gone through, how can we relate it to workplace. But you see now, it's because of the time which is limited, I just mentioned. But that is a very critical concern, because as HR, how are you going to be concerned about this? And remember, we have said that the staff we are dealing with are our assets, and these are the people we need to assist. Yes, that is very correct. I agree with you. Another concern? before we finish? Hello. Other concern? Other input? Other clarification? Like what we have just done, even if it's about these theories, even we take so much time. But if someone was asking about that, if you attend this session, now we can be able to sit down. We be in groups. We come about what are some of these? How can we be able to handle these issues? How are we supposed to look at them? You see, it's something we have to interact. And remember, we say in counseling, it's more of experiential sharing than even imparting that knowledge. We want people to come up with their perspective. Then from there, we get the way forward on how to handle this issue. Thank you so much, Lorna, for that. So I know we have just mentioned, we have just it's like, I can't even say that it was a brief, but just mentioning or highlighting some of the things, but we need to have more detail. For you to be a certified workplace counselor, you need in-depth, you need to practice, you practice whatever you are learning here, you share with the others, you share your personal experience so that you know how it feels. When that employee comes with those challenges, you already know how they feel so that you try to put yourself in their situation. So that is the training which we are planning, that we can be able to have it in depth for 5 days, which can be better, and it will help us to understand. Yeah, Karen is saying, I thank you. I wish we had time to deliver deeper. Nevertheless, what does she say? It was very informative. Thank you. Flora, so far, so great. I like how you articulate different issues. I wish we had all the time so that we can be able to go deeper. I don't know, someone is asking how he or she can be able to get me. I don't know where to share the contacts, but do I put them here? Yeah, Mary is saying topic requires more time. It's interesting and very informative. It was a great session. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, everyone. I don't know where to share my contacts. So that you
Let's
can
share here.
Share
here. Share here.
Where I say to everyone? Have I written anything? What is happening? Imeenda sit there. To everyone. That's it. Nakwambia, this one I said I'll work on it at night. Mpaka nikapata hiyo video. Kwa nini nakataa? After typing, I click enter, inakataa. Okay, can I just say it? 0722 282 500. 0722 282 500.
Come up again.
0722 282 500. Okay, thank you so much, everyone. Looking forward to meet you during that day. so that we can have that experiential sharing. We have that more training, which will be in depth. We can share those experiences. By the way, what you hear, some of the HRs are going through, it is so much that you can be able to learn from one another. Thank you, and God bless you.
Thank you, Flora. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you, Flora. Have a good one.
Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Flora.
Thank you, Lona. Thank you, Grace. Thank you, David. Oh, thank you, Diana, for sharing the number there. Oh, thanks.